There was this rumor that came about recently. I don't know where it came from. I know some people are asking in comments, like hooch to Cloud9. Were you ever approached for this?
To be honest, after Finn left Cloud9, I was asked by Groove to help him till the end of the season. So now I'm consultating Cloud9 till the end of the so I'm trying to help them to solve the problems.
So in like assistant coach roles?
Kind of. Like I can't say much, but the thing is I'm just helping Konstantin right now.
Are you tired of your boring old skins? Head to Trade It and trade them for exciting new ones within seconds. With 24/7 support, massive inventory, free giveaways, and low fees. Trade It is the highest rated trading platform in the market. What are you waiting for? Start trading today for a $5 bonus, only on Trade It.
But one thing remains the same: victories with 1xBet.
Hello and welcome back to HLTV Confirmed, the leading Counter-Strike podcast brought to you by 1xBet and Tradeit.gg. Today on the show, as you can see, there is no Chad. What does that mean? Who knows? Maybe he's working. Maybe he hates us. We'll have to see on some of the following episodes. But what we do have are some very exciting topics. We had a CS2 update. We had a map pool update, and we have two very exciting guests here. Hooch and Nart, welcome to the show, guys.
Yo, hello. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
I wanna start with you, Nart. Just for a second, you are your time zone not the best for the show. I saw on my phone you're sending me clips for the last like 7 hours. Did you sleep, or you're like on 24-hour grind?
I woke up at like 5 a.m. my time. I saw messages from you like, do you have any clips? Got on my bed and open the game and just record some stuff, as you guys see later.
So now I have about 200 clips, of which we'll maybe show 5. But thank you for that. There's some really cool stuff happening with Dust2 and Inferno. So I think we can start a bit of a discussion about that. Hooch, you're my colleague on a shitty chair, which I need to replace because it started cracking as we started the show. So I'll do a little break in a minute or two. But how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm just thinking about who made the title. It's really nice. It fits me.
What is Cyber Tourist?
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, that is something you need to explain. What is a Cyber Tourist for those that don't know?
It's basically when you go to the tournaments, they won't do any job. It's just saying hi and watching games and going for after party. But I already did this once, so.
This is when you come in and get destroyed in the like 2 games?
Yeah, something like that. We used to do like this in the beginning of my career, so it was a meme in Russian community, calling everyone who came to the tournament and lost first 2 games a cyber tourist. So I know something about that. Yeah. Unfortunately.
I think your sensitivity on the mic is just like a bit, sometimes it cuts you off. Yeah, just adjust it just a bit. But I think...
I'm new to TeamSpeak, so...
Is that kind of a slight on Renegades? I feel like that's a slight on Renegades. They've been cyber touristing for like 2 years or so. How do you feel about that one, Nart?
I'm wearing this because Sponge is not here in placement, in spirit of him beating Titan in 2015, ESL in Cologne, top fragging 27-12.
That's
Yep.
that's a nice shout out that right there for Chad. I think he's gonna appreciate that one. I think for a while no one has mentioned that. It's almost gonna become a relic of the past. Just like
Sponge will never let us do that, man. Sponge,
Yeah.
Sponge will never let us forget.
how are you doing,
I love,
Striker?
by the way, yeah, I was gonna say, like, I love how, like, just like what 30 seconds before the show went live, Prof goes like, I have this chair for like 10 euros and it's so good. It's actually not so bad. And then like 5 seconds later, he shows something that's like on the chair, and it literally, we can hear it crack as he says, like, okay, this is what the chair has, and this is what makes it good, you know. So
as the
rest in
host,
peace.
I'll just segue us into the first order of business, which is the CS2 update. And I'll put out the question. Let's start with you, Striker. Out of the generally update material that came out that is not the map pool, is there anything that stands out to you as important for the competitive side? Like what are the updates that are kind of stood out? And I'll run for a second now.
I mean, I'll start with the obvious one. It would be Inferno, right? Outside of the map pool change, that's probably the biggest thing that happened in the update. And I mean, I guess we'll see later how much of an effect that will actually have, right? What do you guys think about that?
He's not listening to you.
Right,
I did.
Go ahead, Rich.
sorry. Continue. Sorry.
Okay, I think like the new nade reticle, the new nade lineup, where you have the long crosshairs.
Yeah,
I already started seeing pros use it.
Really?
That's pretty. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You were watching streams, or who did you see use it?
It was somebody from Zero Tenacity, because I was watching the first pro Dust 2 matches.
Okay.
It was pretty cool to see that, you know, even pros are starting to use that feature that was made for, you know, beginners.
But you have to think that maybe that was like something that possibly Valve were talking to people at the major about, because like it was probably something. I mean, it's been something that's been used for such a long time in different ways. You know, people have binds that like just literally extend the crosshair for the entire width and height of the monitor, right, or like the screen. So yeah, that's cool.
I'm pretty sure I watched some demos before, and like every player who throws the nades had this comment on. So I think it's maybe demo, or maybe everyone is using it. I'm not sure, but it's really useful, I think.
What about you, Hooch? Anything that stood out for you from the update?
Nothing really. I'm just a little bit disappointed with the remove of Overpass. Like the story behind it, I feel like they removed it because it wasn't so popular in Premiere.
Yeah.
Like I think it's one of the best maps from the beginning of the Counter-Strike, like when it was published, and I feel sorry that it got removed. So Dust 2 is a good update, but they should have cut off Inferno Vertigo, in my opinion.
I mean, I think that's what most people from the pro scene would say about removing maps. I think for me, and talking about things from the major and speaking to Valve devs, I did ask them why the CZ was still giving shit kill reward, and now it has been fixed. It has normal kill reward. So I'm gonna take all the responsibility for this like absolutely game-changing update that came through. So I think I can get a thank you from like Hunter and maybe one more player that uses the CZ now. Who else uses the CZ, to be honest?
Umich?
Yeah,
that's true.
Your mate. I don't have the bar, Lucas, to change the topics. So if you can click through to what is coming next, and that would be, I think we can just swap to the Inferno changes, because that's kind of the first big thing that happened. Essentially, one of the big complaints that everyone has had with the map is that it feels claustrophobic and that it plays claustrophobic. But I think for the most part, it was the feeling that got addressed with this, and in terms of changing some of the skyboxes and more or less just decluttering the map. So I don't know. We can start with you, Nart. What did you think of the update that came?
I really like the changes to Inferno, and it keeps getting better. Like removing that whole mid thing, the rooftop right here. Like when I initially got into the game and saw that it was removed, I freaked out because I was like, did they make Inferno wider, like mid wider as well? I had to like confirm it with my friend. But this just allows like a lot more utility being able to be thrown much easier. And then like the bottom banana there is also removed. and it helps with T's having more lineups to contest banana, because otherwise the T's are more towards like there's a player throwing like the flashes over. Yeah, you had like different lineups, but there's a lot more lineups coming out of these two being removed, and it feels less claustrophobic because of these two things being removed as well.
What do you think, Hooch? Is it gonna make a significant difference though? I don't.
Yeah,
I don't see it making like a huge difference on how the map plays, right?
It's looked like some cosmetic difference. Like I don't think overall it's gonna change a lot. But to be honest, I didn't check it yet.
Yeah, I'll have to say, like, yeah, you're right, but because I already watched 3 Inferno demos with these new changes, and the meta is still the same as it previously was. All you're getting is like new nade lineups, honestly.
Yeah, to be honest, it will take people. It takes people quite a bit of time to adapt to like new possibilities and stuff like that. But overall, I think what most people on the pro scene were complaining about is kind of the rotation times that are very tricky to deal with as a CT, and then just the huge amount of saving. I do think this makes the game a bit more appealing just from a casual standpoint, just to like be in it. It feels a bit more enjoyable. But I don't know, Striker, do you have anything on Inferno from a first look before we jump into like some of the smokes and stuff that Nart sent over?
Mm-hmm. I feel like I was kind of surprised that they didn't open up, like when they already did that, they didn't already open up the entire banana, because there's still kind of like the overhanging roof like in the middle of it rather than the one that's like all the way backed. So I'm kind of surprised that didn't get removed as well, just to help with that kind of feel of the map rather than, not necessarily usability, because you don't really see people like lining up smokes from the middle of banana too much, like where that would go so high where that would be in the way or something, So maybe like functionality wise, it wouldn't be much of a difference, but at least feeling wise, it would maybe contribute to banana, like also as a result of Molotovs being a little bit bigger, smokes being a little bit bigger in CS2, that also contributes to the whole like problem of Inferno at the moment, where banana is like much worse than it even used to be in terms of how much of it you could even control with just a few grenades, So yeah, I'm also kind of skeptical about how big of a change it will be, but like we know that pros are the best at kind of like finding ways to abuse changes more than we kind of anticipate. So I guess a lot of it will just remain to be seen.
Yeah, I can actually share my screen to Lucas. So Lucas, when you see it, just let me know so I can play some of the clips that Nart sent over. Like one of the new smokes essentially comes.
Dust too?
No, just going to Inferno now.
Like okay.
The spawn one, for example.
Yeah. They moved the chairs up, so this is just this is like another lineup that was used in the past, but it still works.
Yeah.
But the CGs just have like so much like control with either that smoke or, the deeper mid smoke that's still being thrown.
Essentially, it just allows even more combinations for the CTs that it felt like had already a lot going on, right? A lot of possibilities. So I don't know. I don't really think it fixes the issues. That's kind of my take on it. I just think it's kind of remains more or less the same map, which is something I'm not super hyped about.
The previous update, they tried moving the T spawns up to try to get a better timing on that first smoke that you showed, which it worked out. But that other smoke, the one that lands in deep mid, the CTs can't really beat that timing there. I mean the Ts. Yeah.
But another thing that changed that we didn't really touch on is the view models, and essentially what is finally allowed is the left hand stuff that people have complained about a lot early on. But I feel like it's such a weird timing to add this now. It feels like everyone gave up on it, but it's in the game now. And then, as Nart, you pointed out in this video, you can actually see the view models now in the game when spectating in the client. So that's like a little small addition to the actual spectator POV and the game from just a stream perspective, right? I don't really see it being anything game changing. To be honest, I don't know. A lot of people complained about it not being the same as in CSGO, but like, was that even realistic, or does it change anything?
I mean, it does change certain like peaks, right? Because like, for example, like the one peak that I remember, like Sticko was like a big abuser of the switch, like hand switch during the game, you know, for example. And I remember like one specific peak that he used to do was like from boiler, you know, as you go down the stairs and you peek boiler right side, you know, and you peek short on Inferno, like he constantly switched to the left hand so that he has a clearer view of short, you know. And like if you do that as you peek around the corner and like there's that delay before you can shoot, that's a problem, you know. Like you are going to be at a disadvantage, you know. But then again, like you can also do it slightly ahead of time, you know. Like it's just, I don't know why they did it that way. If it was necessary, I'm not sure. But it just feels like maybe they just didn't want people to spam it and like it looking ridiculous, you know, or just like people just go like do it as a tick where they just literally spam the button just so something happens on their screen, which is, I mean, it is a bit stupid. I don't know if that's what the thinking was behind it, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a map that is staying in the map pool, and seemingly it's going to stay for at least a year now by the tempo of Valve updating the map pool, which is, it is what it is. It had been at some points in this year, it was like super low played, but then at the major it got some love again. But what we are getting is Dust 2 back, and I don't think anyone really saw this coming. Hooch, did you see the Dust 2 being reintroduced to the map pool?
Not really. I was expecting to some map like Cache or Cobblestone to come back, or these new maps they were announcing for a long time. But Dust 2, like, it's definition of Counter-Strike. So for me, I always loved this map. Someone said it in the end it was pretty boring, but for me this map was always interesting. I had like some nice matches as a player and the coach of this, so I'm pretty happy. I'm just an Inferno hater, so I'm just waiting for them to remove this map. And like, what do you think, guys? The reason why they removed specifically Overpass and bring back Dust 2?
You know what? I was thinking about this, and I think the better question is why they didn't remove Mirage, which would have been the one that's the longest time in the map pool. I mean, it's been there literally since the beginning. It's been there for all of the majors so far. While Overpass was a little bit later, it was to like 2014 for Cologne. So the third major it came in, so slightly less it was in the pool, and I would have considered just that as the main reason, as like the longevity of the map. But the reason why they wouldn't do Mirage is exactly because I would imagine it's because it's such a popular map these days. It's become like almost more iconic than Dust 2, especially after the recent changes that made Dust 2 a little bit less kind of like casual, and it becomes a little bit more like harder for the teams to move around and stuff like that. Maybe like that was a part of why Dust 2 stopped being played as much, like even in matchmaking, casual, whatever, all that stuff. And I feel like Mirage has taken its place, and maybe that's the reason why they didn't remove Mirage, you know. Or also maybe they don't have plans for Mirage at the moment, you know. They don't know what they're going to do with it, so like just to remove it when they don't have a rework coming, maybe that's also a reason, you know. But it is like, all of it is surprising. Also, like, I'm sure a lot of people pointed it out that, you know, Overpass was another map that they literally built from the ground up. They rebuilt it completely. So it's not like they just ported it like in to the new version. They literally built it from the ground up and then they remove it, you know. So I'm curious if that means that they rebuilt it so that they can just properly rework it, but it feels like a lot of like wasted work almost. Like, why do you rebuild it? Then you have to rework it anyway. Maybe it's just because they wanted like the switch to CS2, you know, they wanted to make it look as close to CSGO so that the switch doesn't feel so significant, you know, like from CSGO to CS2. It's hard to say. Like, I don't see into Valve's mind, but that, like, if I had to guess, that would be mine.
Yeah, Nart just linked a thing. I don't think we need to bring it up, but essentially what you mentioned before is that in competitive, in Premier, Overpass was just not the most popular map. Like, it was towards the bottom. Actually, it was surprising to me to see that Anubis as the least played from like a PUG perspective. This is data from Leadify, but it's kind of representative of the whole scene, and it's such a huge difference from like the pro scene and what people play and think about these maps. So I think it's the combination of the two, because it was the second oldest map, like second longest in the map pool after Mirage, and then also one of the least played ones from a casual side. I think removing Mirage would just be stupid. I've been defending Mirage for like 5 years.
Many people would leave the game. Many people would leave the game.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people. How many times do you got like going to even FACEIT or whatever, and like Mirage, you play Mirage all the time, man. Like it's impossible. Like unless you ban it out, like you just play it.
But I think
No.
it's not a good thing that like the amount of the maps teams play on Premier decides like which map gonna stay in the map pool. I think it's not a good situation because shouldn't like Valve. Of course, Valve thinks about like casual players first of all, and that's why they move this. Like they remove Overpass, but in my opinion, it's not good situation for the future.
What do we think? Let's just talk about the map pool overall and what it means, because from a pro perspective, which teams are losing the most and which are winning the most with Overpass for Dust 2? What's the first
complexity?
First
And Pandas.
Complexity losing Overpass, and I saw Elige tweeting worst map pool ever. Because remember Elige had his worst game ever on Dust 2, so maybe he had some PTSD there.
Yeah. I think he even said that or something after. Like somebody replied to him, and I think he reacted to that as well.
I forgot who did he play against. I remember that, but it's kind of evaporated from my memory.
Yeah,
no.
But
I mean, the big one for like Dust 2 would be big. Like that, like the only people I saw like praising the Dust 2 coming back was like one Oppers, and second, literally former and current members of Big. Even Keto was like, yes, Dust 2 is back. He's not even in the team anymore, you know, he's just like welcoming the change. So that's a big one.
I also think the Serbians, they always hated Overpass, like Nico, Nexa, Hunter. And now someone's gonna say
they didn't play it until,
but they started playing it, no?
Yeah.
Can they ban Vertigo instead now and play Mirage?
I mean, probably.
Yeah, VP is struggling also because of the removal.
Yeah, but they also were good on Dust 2, I think, originally. I know it's a different team, so maybe that's not so bad for them. So that would be another one.
Yeah,
Vitality and Phase too. Sorry.
Yeah, I think G2 will be good on the map. I think we'll see. Maybe it's different now with Hooksy in the team, but it was always a pretty good Nico map.
I mean, they used to. Didn't G2 used to pick it like 24/7, like before Hooksy, like in the Alexi days?
Yeah,
I feel like they literally like that was their pick all the time, and we were like, why would you pick Dust 2 of all maps all the time? Like it's impossible to be consistent on it. Like Big were the only team who made it consistent, you know.
That is true. I mean, consistent as Big can be, to be honest. But yeah, that's pretty nice. I think the VP angle, like I'm actually pretty excited to see this team on Dust 2. Like I think Electronic was always a beast on Dust 2. Jame and like back from the Avant-Garde days, like they had these silly smokes that they brought out with like Kickert and Buster era. That was pretty sick. And it's a lot of saving. So even though Overpass is out, I feel like Dust 2 is more or less the same in that regard. Like you're gonna end up saving quite a bit still, especially on the CT side. But let's talk about Dust 2 a bit. I'll just you can do the screen share thing, Lucas. I'll just go through some smokes as we talk, because even though it's more or less the same map as it was before, some mechanics of CS2 coming in change how the map is going to be played, and that's like opening skyboxes all over the map, so everything can be thrown everywhere, and in the waterfalling of the smokes, so essentially like throwing a smoke on something high and just having them come down, like the CT Inferno smoke, for example. That's going to change quite a few things, and also how much they spread. So like I will just do the screen share right now and start with the CT smoke, for example, on Dust 2. That is now one smoke and always used to be two smokes, right? So I'll let it. Let's say, Striker, what do you think about the meta on Dust 2? Is it going to be CT or T-sided?
I mean, the way I'm trying to remember like how it played at the end, but I do remember that I didn't like it, and that was also kind of like the same reason why I didn't like actually playing it myself in like matchmaking, is because of how the blocking off like the upper angle towards double doors, how much it puts CTs in a position where they can fight for middle, and like as much as that is fun, it also like completely hamstrung the Ts, where they always have to take long, basically. Like if they have the spawns, they will always take long, and that's how the play map is going to play out most of the time, because mid is hard to contest sometimes. You also have to contest for lower all the time, so it's a bit like the map went from not a lot of like opportunities for CTs to aggress to completely limiting the Ts just to give CTs some opportunity to aggress. So it felt towards the end of Dust 2, from what I was remembering, that it was just like a long control simulator, you know, like where teams got long control instantly, or they didn't get it, and then they had a problem getting anywhere because, you know, they couldn't have middle as easily as they could previously. They had to smoke off a lot of angles. They had to flash off a lot of angles. I didn't like how it played, and I expect that's how it's going to be played again.
Can I mention one moment I just remember about Dust 2? We were playing at EPL against G2 with Alexi B, and we were losing 14-7 ST on last map to qualify for the playoffs.
Okay.
And we did 8 rounds long. So we rushed long, we did the retake slow, and like some late round, and we win the game. So basically at the end of CS, it was just watching team goes long, fast, or slow. So it was always the same. So it was kind of boring. So I agree with you.
I am curious how much CS2 will change it, because I mean, like as you say, like it's just going to be easier to smoke long, so it's even more towards the Ts, and I'm not sure that CTs really get the same kind of advantage from that. Like, what can you even do with the new smokes or whatever like that you can actually improve on? Like, all the choke points are small anyway. Like, all the smokes are going to be the same. Everything like that. Like, that's just going to work the same way. So I don't know. I just can't think of a way that it's going to significantly change in CS2.
Yeah, I mean, this is a nice screenshot that Nart just sent over, and it's a big discussion on the Twitter sphere, and that is that the spawns are like still completely random, which they're not on most or all maps now. So I feel like this is just an oversight. This has to be fixed, but at the same time, just having this in at this point, like why is Valve letting us down like this? Like, this is obviously not supposed to happen.
I don't know why you. Sorry.
You're good. I feel like they're going to change the spawns because they change the spawns on all maps or most maps. Like even Mirage, they reduced the amount.
Yeah.
And you know, like with how it plays out right now, seeing like Hooch said earlier, going 8 rounds in a row at long, it's just so hard for CTs to contest long. They have to spend like so much resources, even up to 4 players sometimes.
Yeah. So do you think it's going to be like more like a further away from long, the default spawns for Ts now?
Yeah, I think Valve would probably mess with those spawns to give the CTs an edge. And I think this map is going to be even way more sided in CS2. And being hard because of the mid door, like Ts in the meta in CSGO, they had their AWPer just posted up there waiting for rotations, or they had somebody lurk behind that mid door waiting for rotations. So, yeah.
So do you think that's, how does that help the CTs or the Ts? I didn't.
No, Ts. Sorry,
T-side, yeah.
T-side. It's gonna be T-sided.
Okay.
But maybe meta will change and they're gonna play passive on long, like, and try to play on the other positions. Because if you have spawns like that, no point. You will never get the information. You need the first spawn. You need to run. You need to flash, smoke, and it's very hard. Like, so, if they keep these spawns like that, it's gonna be very hard for.
I mean, surely they don't remove all the long spawns. I mean, maybe they'll just keep a couple or something, like, so that it doesn't happen that they just like Ts have all the long spawns or whatever like that. But I don't know how they would remove all of them, because then CTs just have automatic control of long, because you just never get there in time before the best spawns for CTs do. So it's like you can't remove all of them, like, because then just you will shift the dynamic to CTs even more. I mean, it was a T-sided map, but it wasn't that like dramatic. I think. So I don't know what they can do about this that will make it more interesting, you know, at least.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think they care that much, to be honest. It's just not even to be like negative or something, but kind of the Valve approach is to let it play and see in like 2-3 months how it should be adjusted. So I guess that's probably why they didn't adjust the spawns. They're just gonna let it play out and see, like, does it make sense? Do we need more people to be closer to long, or not to be, or to be further away? But the problem is just the randomness of it just makes it so. I mean, whatever is random is not really that skilled. So that's the problem that Dust 2 always had, that the reliance on spawns. Lucas, when you can just kill the share.
Yeah. I am like, one thing that actually will change in CS2 is kind of like the smoke. Like we were talking about how it's enough for one smoke to cover all of long. I wonder how many teams will do kind of like a double smoke anyway, just to like layer them kind of, so you can't just blow them up with one HE. for
Yeah.
example, because that will also counter like what CTs will do now, which is like wait for the timing when T's are crossed, or at least they think the T's are crossing, just as the flash is hit or something like that, and then just pop a smoke, and there's an op literally like posted below B or like on CT spawn and just waiting for the cross to happen, So I'm curious about like the next step to that is going to be they'll just put one smoke a little bit deeper, one smoke a little bit behind it, and there's no way you can blow both of them up.
Yeah, Striker. I sent you a clip there, Prof. One team was already doing that.
Oh, okay.
Sinners, yeah, they threw the deep CT smoke and then they threw the 1A cross smoke.
Right.
In case that gets broken. So they still have cover.
Yeah, that's absolutely like I understand why that happens. It's exactly like just to remove like any CT possibility for like to catch them off.
Yeah, I mean for sure, like it's gonna add some new dynamic to Dust 2. Just the nade smoke combinations and other like CS2 details. It's not gonna be. It's gonna be fairly interesting to watch just based on that, because we'll constantly have like people updating their smokes, adding new stuff to it. A lot of the lineups that existed before are now not ideal because of the way the smokes like spread. There's some holes. There's like the kind of like the trick that Keserato and Fallen had with someone like shooting kind of the edge of the smoke and then the op posting. I think a lot of that can be done still in mid doors to get info and stuff like that. So it will be fun. But overall, looking at the map pool, not bad, not the worst, not the best. I feel like it was a nice time to add something new, but at the same time, Cash, from what I know, is not ready. And I honestly think Cash would be horrible in CS2. Like it's a smaller ancient. They would be like very slow to play. There's just not enough space on Cash with the way people use utility these days to play. I think that's my opinion at least. But we'll see. Moving any other thoughts on Dust 2 before we move on?
I don't think the backlash would have been crazy as it would be if Overpass wasn't removed. I feel like if maybe Vertigo was removed, then we wouldn't hear like as much criticism as we have had about this map pool. But in general, we see that map pool got way puggier.
Yeah, it is interesting that like we were showing those stats from Leadify, that Vertigo was actually quite high up on the list in terms of played. So I guess people just enjoy playing it more than they enjoy watching it, which I mean kind of makes sense to me. But I don't know, maybe it's just died out a little bit, like the hate towards Vertigo, and it's just become Mirage. That's like the most hated map at the moment, just because everybody plays it all the time, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything new would have been. So I wouldn't have expected that, because we already just saw the last two maps that came in were both new, right? There was Enchant and Anubis. So I feel like if another new map came in, maybe the map pool will be too new for like all the casuals as well to enjoy the game. As I said, Mirage has been such a staple that removing it in favor of it, especially a new map, would have been pretty drastic. Then you would have like a map pool where Vertigo, Anubis, Ancient are all in the map pool, and then plus something new, that we haven't seen, so that would have been maybe a little bit too much at the same time. I saw also there was a opinion that the Dust 2 is a very popular map in China, and that's why it came back, in time for the Chinese major. So maybe that's a part of it. But then again, like where is it Dust 2 popular? Like literally casually everywhere. Like everybody played Dust 2 anywhere you go. So I feel like, yeah, exactly. Like Russians love the map, I'm sure.
Yeah. Other than that, I think we kind of covered the update. There were some like smaller things that happened, like the change to the XM kill reward as well. Like kind of balances the gun out a bit, which it is what it is. I think it makes sense. It kind of puts it in line with like a P90 of like a high damage SMG kind of weapon, right? SMG shotgun. But other than that, just like quality of life stuff, I think people are still waiting for more anti-cheat stuff, and that is just a part of the game that, yeah, as was said on another podcast, is my understanding as well, is like that's Valve's like main priority in terms of fixing it. But it's also from what I understand, it's a very complex thing, and it's not just, people expect like, oh, there's an anti-cheat and then there's a game, and almost thinking of these two things as like separate. but in reality, the way the game is built includes anti-cheating measures, right? And some of the stuff such as the, you know, in CSGO, after a certain distance or between certain walls, you couldn't really see, your PC wouldn't even get the info that someone is there, right? And then something like this doesn't exist in CS2. So there's a lot of these small, not quality of life, but quality of anti-cheat things that need to be added to Source 2 in order to avoid, you know, some of the cheating. But it does seem pretty bad right now. I don't know. That is just a fact, unfortunately.
No,
It's kind of sad. That's sad. Like, why are they doing this to us? Like, I think it's not the question. I mean, like, they don't really care so much about like professional scene. How I see it, like, everything they do is they care about the amount of the players are present in the game. So same goes for the anti-cheat. We compare like Counter-Strike to Valorant, it's a big difference because their anti-cheat is much better. Like, and how Riot responds to the problems in the game is much faster than. So I think the only way to get it better, like if all the community and like pro players and influencers, everybody who is in charge of CS and just the players will continue highlighting CSGO and mentioning the problems. I think it's the only way, because we take like the normal day of the CS player. No offense, I love CS, thank you very much, but they don't really care so much like about the problems we talk about. The only real problems, like if people will stop playing the game, and until they're playing the game, they don't care so much about that. So the only way to get it better, not whining about it or saying like it's bad. Obviously, it's not going to change it. We are the only one who are responsible to that and change it. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can also see it in like the last few months that more or less everyone has done something to highlight the problems in CS2 right now, right? So I think it's the community is actually doing quite a decent job for once.
Yeah.
I don't think you can actually fault them. It's just about Valve getting shit actually done realistically.
I feel like when Wow and 3Click Phillips are posting content about cheaters, that's got to be a huge issue at this point.
I was actually thinking the same, and I actually watched like a 3Clicks video or two today about like the anti-cheat and stuff like this. And these are not the type of influencers that, you know, farm the drama for, you know, everything that happens and in every opportunity, to not name some other ones. But if they are highlighting this, then, you know, it is a problem on a massive scale for the average player and user. But it is what it is. It is time though to do the Skinionaire quiz. Are you guys ready to fight for the people?
Yes.
Always.
$50
we have 5 questions. The more you get right, the better the skin, and it will go out to someone in the chat. And do we have the link for the people, Lucas? Before I announce the start. Yeah, you should trade it in chat to enter the raffle. And we have the link. So let's get ready for Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, brought to you by Trade It GG. Question number 1. Which of the following maps was in the CSGO and CS2 map pool the longest? Was it Cache, Nuke, or Train? Full focus, no comments.
It was either Nuke or Train.
Yeah, Nuke or Train, obviously. I answer in game or here, like.
You can click on the thing if you want to lock in there.
I'll let Hooch pick.
I'll go. Sorry, guys.
He locked in Train.
I'm not sure about.
And the correct answer is Nuke. I think.
I never been good at these games. Never.
I want to say it would been a decent margin, but that's just my feeling.
I also think like Nuke was only out for like a year, for like a couple of majors or something, like not that long.
Yeah,
but I'm not. I don't remember exactly.
Okay, 1 down, but let's see if you can make a comeback. The theme is the map pool. After Mirage, which map was the second most played map in CSGO and CS2 with 24,000 recorded matches on HLTV? Was it Dust 2, Inferno, or Overpass?
Definitely not Overpass, so that's your
Yeah.
Inferno. Nart, what do you think? I think it's Inferno, no? Go with this.
Oh, yeah,
I
you
can't
go
give
Inferno.
up boys anymore.
Are you gonna?
It's definitely not Overpass.
I'm gonna get flamed.
Okay, I'm gonna lock in Inferno, and the answer is. Okay,
Yes.
you're doing it. It's slight recovery here, guys. Going to question number 3. Which map was played in the least number of matches across CSGO and CS2? Was it Cache, Cobblestone, or Train? I love how we got Train as potentially the most played and the least played map in the answers.
You're hinting something, or?
No,
It's Cache or Cobblestone. Hooch.
It's a Cobblestone.
Yeah. Which map do you think?
I feel like
is-
Cobblestone played less, no? I'm not sure. Yeah, you get it right last time, so I believe in you. Good
Okay,
IGL, obviously.
We can go
Let's go for
with. We can go with Cobblestone.
Okay, locking in Cobblestone.
Yes.
Another correct.
Go.
Not bad.
Question number 4. Before Dust 2's re-edition, which map has been missing from the map pool for the longest? Cobblestone, Dust 2, or Train? How can Dust 2 be before Dust 2? What?
Like, which of them was missing?
Yeah,
Like-
which one has not been
So
in the
it
map
doesn't
pool
make
for
sense.
Yeah,
So it's not Dust 2, right?
it can't be Dust 2.
Oh, it could be,
It could be now.
but it's not that long since it like it's only been out for
Surely
like
it's-
a year or something,
Surely it's
right? So
Cobblestone, right? Hooch.
Cobblestone is missing since like 18 and it's 2024. Let's go Cobblestone. I love this map.
Locking in Cobblestone?
I think you must be
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Because like Astralis here was on Train as well. Like that was like one of their best maps as well. So it must be.
Yeah.
Let's come back again.
And Cobblestone disappeared after like the Gambit major or something, right?
Yeah.
They're very good on Cobblestone and Overpass.
Cache, Overpass, everything.
Yeah, they had like 2 streaks on. I think it was like on Overpass and Cobblestone. Okay, final
And the
question.
funny, they picked Cobblestone in final against stopped like 3 rounds against Portals.
Which map has 47 recorded matches on HLTV? Just 40.
I know, it's easy. It's easy. It's season.
All
He's
right.
locking in season. He's locking in season.
No,
Confidence.
Okay.
I'm
And the
joking.
correct answer is. I should have allowed you to change the change.
I
the
was
thing.
joking. I was joking. I never
That
intended
was,
to change.
I was
Because-
wondering if this was like including 1.6 or not, because I'm like
Actually, we played.
No, these these stats don't have.
but that's what I was thinking. Like I was wondering, was this gun really played more than that?
No,
'Cause I
it's,
don't remember, like,
it's a
the
source
time.
map.
Least.
It's a source map, bro. 100%. Because when we started playing it in 2014 and 15 in CSGO,
I mean,
we
season,
played
yeah.
finals against Flipside on this map and won. And one time I played some tournament with Overdrive, Kukli, SF, and Kenny, I guess, on this map. And Overdrive scored more frags than Kukli and SF combined. That's when they started asking questions.
Okay, so
But
the winner is.
my thought was like, when was Tuscan actually played? Like, where was Tuscan actually in the map pool?
I mean,
like, was it just like a bunch of show matches that they
it
just
doesn't-
like overtook season, or what happened?
No, the question wasn't which one was played the least. It was just which one was played 47 times.
Ah, okay.
Okay. So
So-
L Bion 9 has won the skin.
Right.
Congrats to you.
What does Sponge say after this? We'll send your people, or
Your people will
people,
talk
okay.
to our
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
That's the line.
He's a
That's the
regular
line.
viewer. Let's go.
yeah.
I mean, he does get shout outs from Chad like literally every episode, so might as well. But yeah, this has been your first time on the show. You visited us at the award show in Belgrade, both of you actually. How'd you enjoy your stay?
It was an amazing
Um,
event. Hopefully, I can come back next year.
And maybe win as well.
You did the whole influencer thing, just like went into the hotel room, instantly took a video of it, like uploaded it and everything.
Yeah.
And actually have a big fan base in Russian-speaking community, Nart. For your job.
Oh, really?
I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I have
Like
a VK.
a lot of teams use your videos, so
Yeah.
You should make a Telegram. You need to make a Telegram. Telegram
Oh.
is the best.
yeah, we can chat there sometimes. You know.
I have a Telegram. Yep.
There you go. Nice. You're on all the. You're on LinkedIn.
I'm on LinkedIn posting my own content. Yeah.
That's amazing. Anyway, do you want to do some shout outs now before we let you go?
Yeah, shout out to my community. Shout out to everyone who supports me. Shout out to HLTV for allowing me to download your demos very quick. And shout out to all my fans. Thank you guys for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for the hard work, and hopefully have you on again, maybe in a month or two when we see more like Dust 2 development to see what's happening.
All right.
Nice. See ya.
Are you tired of your boring old skins? Head to Trade It and trade them for exciting new ones within seconds. With 24/7 support, massive inventory, free giveaways, and low fees. Trade It is the highest rated trading platform in the market. What are you waiting for? Start trading today for a $5 bonus, only on Trade It.
The world is changing quickly. Shut up. The world is changing, but one thing remains the same. Victories with 1xbet.
Hello. Who did you have something to say?
No, I said 30 seconds.
Okay, I love how you spoke, but you didn't let out a sound, which is amazing. It was very, very confusing to me, but props to you. Didn't know you were a ventriloquist as on the side.
Ventriloquist.
Yeah, or a team speakist.
But that's the opposite. That's the opposite.
Mumblist.
of what we did.
This is still HLTV confirmed. Still brought to you by Trade It and 1xbet. And
This time you didn't say leading podcast. Like, are we not leading podcast anymore?
honestly,
Leading CS:GO
the news
podcast.
came in. You know, we're being hard pressed by
By the other one.
by the other podcasts. Honestly, Fast podcast, best podcast, the best. Anyway, this is the question: MIBR beat Aurora, but everyone's asking, what happened
Is this game or my
With you.
journey with?
with you?
Actually, it's a classical story. I think I did a strategic mistake to join the team because obviously I didn't expect so hard. And I'm not saying it's guy's fault. Just I didn't like check out what's gonna be in this team. I think they are really talented players, but we have a super different approach to the game, how we see it inside the game and outside the game. So we just didn't match the vibe with some of the players. And during the time, like, we had some normal results at the beginning, but after really bad performance at RMR, it was just a matter of time, like, that something happened. So I think it just didn't work out because we had a different views of how we should play. And to be honest, like, I didn't do the job so good. I feel like I could do it better, and that's I take that personally because I am the only one who to blame, as I have a big experience and I should have treated some moments differently. So I take it as a good experience. Don't have any bad feelings. I'm really happy that they're doing good. So right now, I'm really happy that my assistant coach, Stjopa Brain, who's now main coach, and they're really satisfied with him. So it's just a part of the game, you know. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. So nothing big.
Yeah, I mean, they did change like 3 coaches in a year, right? So it seems like it's not the easiest team to be in. Not like justifying you. I'm just looking at it from an outsider point of view. It seems like there's high demands in some sorts, but
They also changed a lot of players. over the same period. So
Kinda, yeah. That is
because
true.
like the Deco and Result are there for whatever, a month and a few months. I don't remember.
But
Actually, they changed only one player. Like when I came to the team, we had Letic and we changed him for Deco, and
Yeah.
after that,
Result.
results. So
Yeah.
we removed the Selter, so it's only 2 players. But yeah, they had 3 coaches. Like obviously, none of them succeeded. I think only one who was bringing some nice results was Starix. Well, it's a tough topic. I think only time will tell which side was right. But as I have said, like I don't have any bad feelings. I mean, like how they run the team and how it works. Just like I have a different approach, and that's it.
Yeah, but just looking at the results, so now recently they won the BetBoom Dacha qualifier against some decent teams, including BetBoom, Apex, Amcal, 1 win. Then they won the Sky Esports Masters, which was online. Also BetBoom Force OG, and now they played Challenger Melbourne. They finished second. Wasn't really a stacked tournament, but they got to the final, lost to MIBR there. What do you think about the team? Do they have what is stopping them from kind of becoming a bit more consistent, essentially? Because they've been around this like top 20 for about almost a year and a half, right?
I think they're super talented guys. Talent and just, I mean, like at some point, if you want, you can't have fun all the time when you play the game. Like sometimes you need to sacrifice some things in your life to become a better team. So I think like recent results were really good online, and online they played decent. I mean, like Challenger wasn't so stacked, but MIBR, in my opinion, is quite a good team. But they also lost to Apex, which are not doing so good right now. I mean, they have a really good addition. As a result, I was asking before we separated the ways. I said that it's a good player, that we should get him, and I think he's one of the most talented prospects now on the scene. And he's very confident and has really good mechanics. So I think maybe more changes, maybe not. I don't know. BetBoom Dacha will be a really good tournament for them, because last time we didn't qualify. We lost to MIBR in the final. Now they qualified and they have a first tier 1 event for a long time. So I think that's the point when they will see that if they're doing the right job or not. But obviously, last 3 months or 2 months were really good for them. So
yeah.
I mean, and these are all guys that have been there and done it. Like at least a couple of EPLs they've all played, like some of the big events, like across different teams. Like Kenzie and Norway was 4s before, right?
Yeah.
Result as well, and then Lucky, obviously, with you guys with Entropic was a mainstay at big tournaments and all that stuff. So there's some experience there.
Yeah, I mean, overall, that's all kind of I wanted to touch on regarding Melbourne, because I don't know why this tournament existed, to be honest. Like, what is even the point with ESL having Pro League at the same time? They kind of just cannibalized their own tournament. There's no one really wanted to play in it, right? Or could play in it from the top teams.
Look at the teams which were playing. Like last time, you didn't have FlyQuest, I mean Renegades or something. Like this time, 2 teams played the roster and some mixed team. Not even like Bad Kangaroo News or something. I don't know why. I heard, I read some Twitter. They were saying that like, why are you putting the tournament on dates when we have a Pro League?
Yeah.
So we can't. It's stupid. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it is part of like the DreamHack Festival that's
Just
going
a moment,
on
someone
there.
is calling in the door. So.
No worries.
Okay, but yeah, as I said, it is a part of like the DreamHack Festival, which is something that gets planned not only around the Counter-Strike kind of circuit, but still doesn't really make too much sense. Okay, the next thing that I have on the list, but we don't have to take a lot of time for it. I'm actually just curious if there's any like inside info here that is not maybe known to the outer scene. Wonderful, why? FACEIT banned, not the Navi Wonderful. Do you know anything?
Like I saw this guy, because obviously there's 2 Wonderfuls. He played for some mixed teams. Then he played for Edsilio, he played for Lasercats, some other teams. I never like, I saw him playing in some not decent, like tier 2 or 3 teams in Ukraine, like Kyiv maybe, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing to say. Like our scene is like fool with the guys who are not fair. I haven't seen this guy cheating. I never played against him, and I can't say anything in particular about this case. But that's it.
Yeah, I mean, now what happened essentially is this is just a FACEIT ban and not a Valve ban, but the first NA FACEIT ranked player and the first EU FACEIT ranked player got banned, which is not the best look for anyone. But at least I guess they're not winning when they're cheating with sad stuff. But this is a more interesting topic. We did talk about Cloud9 a bit on the previous episodes, but we kind of focused more on Virtus Pro and like what's going on with Electronic now being there. Cloud9 now have 3 players, 4 players. Depends on, I guess, how we look at it. Or Boomich, Exile, Groove is there. They did, what was the latest news? Obviously, HObbit and Perfecto benched for some reason, not really fully explained or clear. And there was some news about using some people. I'm not really sure. They pulled out of EPL because they don't really have a team. So
yeah, but they're going to be in Dutch in 2 weeks, so they have to do something.
Yeah. So what's the general sentiment, Striker? Let's start with just there.
I'm just fucking confused. Like, what's going on? Like, I understand. Like, okay, I understand if Electronic wants to go to a different team, but like this kind of proves that there must have been some underlying issues there. Then that's why Electronic decided to leave, and maybe that just caused this cascade, where just either the team is not happy with the players, or the players aren't happy with the team, or both ways. That's usually how these things happen. But I don't understand how this team went from having some decent pieces to then just Shiro deciding to bench himself, to Electronic just like splitting out of nowhere, like just came as a shock to everybody. And now they are just literally just have 2 players left. I'm like, who do you even take? Like, that's going to be better than who they just benched.
I have to say, like, almost for a year or maybe even more, like we've been actually struggling to even get Cloud9 interviews. Like at every event, there's always this like, only if we go to playoffs, we'll do interviews and stuff like this. So we didn't really have even access on a basic level. Obviously in interviews, you don't really find out like if people hate each other in the team, but you can get like some vibes that are going on, you know? And so for the longest time, we kind of living with limited information. And then these things that happened, I think out of all the teams and roster moves that happened, like the Shiro thing, and now all of this kind of came out of nowhere. And there's not even from the insiders a lot of like info about why anything's happening. So who do you have any ideas?
Regarding what's gonna be the future for Cloud9?
I mean, or the past of Cloud9, like what's going on?
Past, I think, like, in my opinion, when this team came with the Shiro, it was really good team. Like everyone expected this to be like Navi number 2, and I think that when the Shiro left, it hurt everyone in the team really hard. And I mean, like, I feel like their expectations coming to this team were different. I mean, like, thought like we're gonna bring the Navi vibe, it's gonna be good, but yes, changes so much. Like, and you like names doesn't make you win the tournaments just because you were good sometime. I'm not saying they weren't putting hours or like trying their best. I mean, like, the scene is really competitive now, and by the time they're losing the tournaments after they lost the Shiro, they lost the confidence. And I think it's not a good environment when you play in the team when you already know that someone's going to be removed sooner or less. Like, during my career, whenever that happened, it was just a waste of time. And when you play in the team and you know that you have a spectacular op who going to play this role, and you're going to change all the time, so you expect someone to leave soon. So I think this affected the team also really hard. And I think that, like, they just thought it's going to be an easy way, but it doesn't work like that. So I mean, like, I can't say who was wrong. I mean, like, all the expectations for the community were much higher than it appeared on their last appearance on the tournament. So I think it's just like wrong team. I mean, like, Groove has his approach of how he looks at the game. I mean, Axel was used to playing with the guys with the band of the players who came from the lower rankings to the top, and then the guys who won a lot of tournaments, who are like one of the best players who ever touched the game, come to the team, and you expect like everything to click, but not about that. Like that's why we love Counter-Strike. It doesn't work like that.
And it's also like that change came just as CS2 hit. So literally like they had like 2 events left, like the big one, where we were like, okay, this Cloud9 is going to dominate. They had like 2 events left before CS2 came around, and those 2 events even went badly. So you're already behind before you switch to CS2. Then Shiro makes his decision out of nowhere. It's like, it is crazy how quickly that came undone, like how quickly everything unfolded. Like, okay, I understand like if a couple of events go badly, like you had massive expectations, a couple of events go badly, okay, you have to adjust their expectations now. Like it's not like we're just going to win events straight off the bat. It's a new game, blah, blah, blah. But just like they never had the chance to try that even.
But to be honest, I think they did. Their opportunity was to make a roster change and get an offer in December, right?
Yeah.
They had to do it then. And everyone criticized them for what they were doing. And I guess they thought, I don't want to say they thought they were smarter than everyone, but they had a different vision of like what Counter-Strike can be. And I think they kind of admitted it through some interviews and stuff like that. There was the Finn, the assistant coach, I think his role is, he spoke about it a bit, saying something like, oh, because CS2 was not really good for Opper, so like we thought we can play without an Opper, blah, blah. But I think that only made the whole situation that Hooch was talking about, kind of the lack of belief and knowing that there's going to be a change sooner or later, just made everything even worse. It doesn't really feel like a thing that has a good foundation. It just felt like a work in progress. And of course, someone like Electronic or Shiro that are great players and get great offers, then they just want to go somewhere where things are a bit more settled, I would say.
Like I would understand that part, but then why do you remove, or why did the two more players just decide to go? Like I don't understand that, how that results into that, because like of course like after Electronic leaves, okay, we don't have to care about who goes out of the team anymore. We don't have to decide that. Electronic decided for us. So now we just get an offer, right? But that's not what happened.
But it's like, it's easy to say, but maybe they're not the same, the guys that played in Navi before, and they don't have this strong connection anymore. Like when the Electronic left, they might think like, maybe this ship is sinking and it's time to leave. Because if we look at this team, it was a really great team with different players. And when Navi player joined, they tried to be good, but the thing is, it just didn't click. So at this point, when you're a player, you think like, maybe it's time to move on. Like if he left, why should I stay? Or maybe I should look for another team, another coach, another players, another IGL. To be honest, I don't know what happened inside. Like I only can say my opinion, and like I talked to some of the players, but in my opinion, just I don't know how to say it in English, but it's just like the wrong time. It just didn't click. Because the circumstances were different. They didn't have hope. They like didn't win the tournaments, and they just felt it's time to leave. And I think the biggest problem was Shiro leaving.
There's this rumor that came about recently. I don't know where it came from. I know some people are asking in comments, like Hooch to Cloud9. Were you ever approached for this?
To be honest, after Finn left Cloud9, I was asked by Groove to help him till the end of the season. So now I'm consultating Cloud9 till the end of the. So I'm trying to help them to solve the problems.
So in like assistant coach roles?
Kind of. Like I can't say much, but the thing is, I'm just helping Konstantin right now.
Okay, so I guess the first step is finding players. So that's a challenge in itself. Okay, so now I'm gonna ask you, why is Groove still on the team? You can tell me what you think about his coaching resume. I'm sure you'll be very critical.
It's hard to be critical at this point because Konstantin is my really good friend, and he was my first coach in my first IGL, and I have a huge respect for him. So it will be hard for me to judge him. Obviously, if we talk about esports or sports, like the coach is always in charge of the results. Like, so I understand the frustration of the fans why he's still on the team. But it's easy to judge when you watch from the outside, and there are some things that you can't control. So I don't want to judge or protect someone. I'm just saying, like, it's always easy to judge someone from the outside, but when you see the situation inside, it's much harder. So I can't answer this question. You should ask this question Cloud9 GG mail, something like that.
I wish, man. Like, it's impossible to get a hold of or like try to figure out anything about that team. It's like you want to talk to anybody, like it's like it doesn't, like no contact exists. Like you try to ask somebody, like you see Jack like tweets one thing, or like not tweets, like puts on Reddit one thing, and it's like that's pretty much the only thing that we ever heard from the team ever.
I was met at Boomage at last major. They lost, and I say like. He came to the interview and he said some words to English broadcast, and I say like, maybe you come to say something to Russian broadcast, people cheer for you and stuff, explain what happened, like, and no one wanted to do so. And for me, like, we're at this point now in the esports, it's growing every day, and you should take responsibilities. And like, of course, we don't have these fans who come, like in football, they pay travel and stuff, but still we need information, obviously, like, and that's something everybody need to work on. But I can judge the players after losing the tournament. It's always hard. But I always respect when the guy or IGL or one of the players come and says, "Guys, we've I don't know how to say with fucked up." I can say that. Okay, we shitted our pants. Blah blah blah. Like, sorry. Next time we're gonna be stronger. It's just my humble opinion, and I think like. Should be more open. Of course, like there is some inside things that should never open for the whole community, but I think it would be much less stressful for the players and for the management if they would be more open. Like people would see like they're humans, we're losing, we're not satisfied with that, we're disappointed, sorry, blah blah blah. I think it would be better in my opinion, but I'm not the one who judge. So
I mean, especially like now, if you're Groove, you know, like you're the guy who should take some sort of responsibility for this. Like, even if it doesn't necessarily mean like it's my fault or whatever, but like, okay, this is what happened. Maybe I mishandled something, whatever, like whatever it is, and try to at least make the community understand in some way. Because like at the moment, we're just getting zero information, anything. Like even behind the scenes, there's like conflicting things about whose decision it was. Like how much of it was mutual, how much of it was the coaching staff like deciding the move. Like some of it, like some of the players no one wanted to leave. You know,
no one wants risks. You know, because like when you put it up to the media, it can explode. Like we were satisfied with him, or so the reply, and then they reply, and it goes like a snowball.
I mean, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a blame game, right? But but at least like give us something, you know, like at least some sort of an understanding. Like, okay, like what you said, you know, like I understand that it's kind of a cliche, like we didn't click or things like that. But of course, like that's always a part of it. Like we just saw the game differently. We just didn't know how to make it work without an upper, all that stuff. Like you could have picked a million things that like everybody knows was a problem, and you could at least in some way explain why. But it's just nothing, you know.
I'll tell you, they think in a way like it's easier not to say something, so there is no problem.
I understand
it's easy way, but I don't admire it.
I understand the mentality. I obviously don't agree with it, and especially like me as a journalist, you know, I'd rather have people talk about whatever's going on, and especially at least on some level.
I just think
hate when there's just like this stonewalling.
It also leads to a lot of speculations and like fake info, and like because like when people say nothing, then what happens, there's like 7,000 CS podcasts and like stuff and broadcast moments where people are just going to say stuff that they think is true, and then people are going to take this as gospel and take it over. And
it's also like when you also hear something like, okay, like one guy hears something from one side, you know, but he never checks with the other side, you know, so he will like kind of portray his opinion as something that like, or like portray something he heard from the player as his opinion. And then like people will believe that. They're like, I heard this, you know, and people would think like, okay, that's an informed opinion, we can believe that, you know, but we never heard the other side of the story. And then another expert who talks to the management or whatever says, okay, but I heard this. And then you're like, so what the fuck is the truth?
I mean, here's a comment from Wek Pollux in the chat. He says, the day comma comma, when they removed inters, comma comma, I stopped caring, comma comma. I was fan of this Gambit roster, not Cloud9. But to be honest, just to put this whole situation in perspective, because Cloud9 signed this team not that long ago. It was like which year was it? 2012 Rio Major. So before that, like
22.
middle of 2022, right? And realistically, they came in and for Cloud9 as an org, I think overall, it's still a pretty good job. They came out of kind of obscurity of Counter-Strike. They didn't exist in Counter-Strike for some time. And all of the teams almost since the Boston team were kind of shit. So like from 2018, they didn't have a good team in Counter-Strike. They came in, they got this team, and they won Dallas. They got to the Rio Major. They had like a good playoffs run there. I think that first part, great. Then they remove inters, which is, I think, like people did take like, oh, this is not a good move. But I think the worst part was who they signed. I think the signing of Buster was not the solution, and it's proved to not be the solution. It was not even the role or the quality of the player or the form or anything that they needed. So that's like, I would say, first misstep. Then kind of things start going down. Then the big transfer kick comes in when they sign Electronic and Perfecto. Obviously huge signings. No one can say like this is bad business. Even after everything that went down, you can't say this was bad. Like it just, you had to try it if it became available. You could say putting Electronic as the IGL was the wrong move because he didn't really prove himself in the role, but at the same time, he was pushing to be that. Like he was IGLing in Navi at the time. I didn't like it from the start, and essentially at the moment when Electronic doesn't want to IGL anymore, from that point onward, the team is going down significantly, right? Yeah. And even with him IGLing, he wasn't in great form, so that wasn't good either. But that's when they needed to make like a radical change and find a solution. But then it took him like 4 or 5 months to get Boomich, and then when they got Boomich, they lost Shiro, and then it took them 6-7 months, and now they still don't have an upper. I think when you look at, there's something bad in Cloud9, but what is bad? They changed so many players. I think you have to point towards Groove and be like, this is your doing, right? You are managing the team. He is from my understanding, in Cloud9, the person that kind of controls the whole division, right? Obviously, Jack has say, and he can just like go out and buy players. Not like he has an infinite cash check, but like he is the person making the most of these like informed Counter-Strike decisions. So I think it is a very like a significant stain on his decision making. But at the same time, just financially, I don't think Cloud9 are too dissatisfied because of, as I said, they got the team super cheap. If you compare them to like a TSM or some of these other orgs that try to get into Counter-Strike, like Bleed or something like that, it takes so long to get to a competitive level. They started instantly, and they have been up there, qualifying for almost every major, getting the prize money. They had that one hiccup for Paris, right, when they didn't qualify, when they lost the phase in the last chance. But overall, they have been financially a really good investment, I think, for Cloud9. And that's why I think it makes sense that Groove still has a spot, because he probably has been delivering on what Cloud9 need from him as a baseline.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, I can't speak to Cloud9's decisions. It's more like.
But let's go with the topic. Like, for example, removing inters and changing it for Buster. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Not the obvious. Like the decision of removing inters was just a matter of time. Obviously, who they pick? Booster was really like kind of good in VP. He was doing really good, but he didn't fit in this team at all. And after that, getting Electronic and Perfecto was a really good move. And I think like the problem in that timing that Electronic decided to be IGL. Instead of bringing IGL at that point, they tried to spend 5-6 months getting him as IGL. And this, I think maybe it's a mistake because obviously now he doesn't want to be IGL, and like a lot of players take this sacrifice, like the moment they feel I want to be IGL, but when the reality comes, it's much different, because when you're just playing, do a lot of job, but when you're IGL and captain, you need to be doing like 25 times more. And that's why, like, he understood, like, it's not his same. I think same happened with Marex in Liquid. So I think it's just yeah, it's always like the management who is responsible. So I can't judge on this point. I mean, like, we all expected Cloud9 to be a better team, obviously, and I hope they're gonna be a one.
Yeah,
That's my opinion.
I wonder how much of it also had to do with kind of, like, let's say Electronics' decision to leave, you know, as like, I don't see an offer that we can get that I'm going to be happy with, you know, because obviously a big target would have been m0NESY, but it's pretty clear that he's not going to leave G2 anytime soon, at least. So if you can't get m0NESY, you can't get like your primary target. And who, like, what other options do you have? There are a lot of offers from the region that could theoretically be at least decent, you know, but it's not like it's not going to be a big name that they're going to get that's proven in CS2 that is going to be like the solution to the problem. Okay, go ahead.
If we talk about ops now in CIS or world, yes, m0NESY is delivering, like, one of the best players in the world right now, no doubt. But tell me, who is really good with op right now?
I mean, that's kind of my point. Yeah,
not in the in the world.
yeah.
Say. And CIS, we have talents. We have talents. Like, just a matter of time when they will shine. I mean, like, they're already on the scene, already played majors and stuff. I mean, like, our region is stacked with the talented players, and ops in particular. I mean, like, there shouldn't be a question if we can get a good offer, because can we get a good offer as m0NESY? No, you can't. Not possible in any team right now.
Yeah.
If you have all money in the world.
I mean,
Falcons.
realistically,
basically, like, the next one would have been, like, unless you look at some people like Shelfie or something like that, then you have like Artrust, who is also kind of like somebody we think is going to get there at some point, but he's also not proven in tier 1. Like, we haven't seen him play for like I mean, we have seen him play in Spirit, obviously, but like not on a very consistent level, so we don't know if he has what it takes to be on tier 1, you know. So it's like any move you make right now is going to be a risk, and is obviously not going to be the same kind of stature of a player that everybody else on Cloud9 was. So I wonder if that was like the first thought that kind of like started this cascade. You know, we're just not going to get an offer that is going to be great. We just have to settle, you know, and then from there you realize, okay, so maybe VP is a better home for me right now, you know, because there's Jame. We have a lot, like, they have a lot of proven. Like, they have a proven track record. I can make them better. I can finally be the guy who brings them to titles, you know. So I wonder if that's like the Electronics kind of point of view, first of all.
Yeah, one of the things probably it was, yes, is like of a good offer, and getting any player now, it's a risk. But the thing is, like, it's always like that. You buy m0NESY now, it's not a risk. But what offer you buy now, it's not risk. No, maybe Brocky. Okay, Brocky. That's it.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I don't know. I was watching some FaZe game, and he is the. I don't know how to describe this. He's the best player that can win, that can lose you the worst rounds.
Yeah,
I don't know how else to say it. And also win. Obviously, he can win also insane rounds, but he can also lose them, which is absolutely insane.
I'm a huge fan. I don't care. Sorry. Like, always, everybody says Brocky is not stable. He's random. He do a lot of mistakes. I don't care. I watch games. He delivers. That's it. Sorry.
Dude just watches the highlights. He only watches when he frags.
on YouTube, like.
Yeah. No, I mean, but yeah, it's what will Cloud9 do? I don't think we need to go too much into that, because obviously Hooch can't tell us anything.
I cannot, unfortunately.
But when they do, we'll bring you back on to explain why.
With a pleasure.
Yeah, why you signed Artrust.
Unless Groove tells you like you can't say anything because they haven't said anything this whole time.
No, I wanted to say something, but I can't. So.
Yeah,
but obviously there is a lot of talent. Seriously, like I was looking for the players. We have players. We have. No, I mean, like, not Cloud9. I mean, like,
how big is the list? Is the list like this or like this?
Like this, like my.
Your Pivo?
Pivo, yeah, Pivo. Zeychenko. Sorry, for off topic.
Okay, what do we have? Okay, it's time to talk about EPL. But before we go into EPL itself, we'll start with our new segment. What are the odds? What are the odds presented by 1xBet? This is a new feature on the show. We'll break it down slowly, but essentially, we here, the panelists, will have a question in front of us, and we'll try to gauge how likely something is to happen. And then we'll put it later on the vote on the social medias, and people will vote if they think yes or no. And based on how likely or unlikely it is and what you guys vote, there will be a big prize purse for the end of the season that we will give away. So essentially, you're kind of guessing. We're kind of like a bookie in a way, but with zero investment from your side. So Lucas is sending me some shit, of course. What do I do? Okay, who are you? Why is this whole thing? Okay.
Who am I?
Who am I? Did you guys got this thing? Can you click it?
Should I click it as well? Okay.
Dude is sending me a million things. I'm sorry for not having the smoothest hosting role today. My chair is breaking. The world is dying. The animals are leaving. But the question for today, 1xBet, what are the odds? What are the odds Falcons make big event playoffs before the break? And this is including Dallas and BetBoom Dacha. I don't know if BetBoom Dacha is a big event or not, but let's say it is, just for the sake of this. And now the three of us will gauge it from 1% to 100%. How likely is it that Falcons make a big event playoffs before the break?
I announce it or just...
You can announce it and you can press it.
Okay, so actually I'm really disappointed. Like, I watched a lot of the games of Falcons on major qualifier and last tournament, and like, of course, they had BOROS who made a lot of mistakes, blah blah blah. But I never saw so many stupid mistakes from such experienced players. I mean, like how they play in advantage and situation they lost. So I feel like something going wrong with that team, and I was always a big fan of Zonic, and also I respect all the players on the team, huge fan. But like, was strange feeling watching this kind of players with their experience making such stupid mistakes. So I felt like something wrong with the team. But for me, it's not an excuse if your young player, like, he make mistakes,
He's doing
he makes
stupid
mistakes. Of course. Okay, yes, that makes sense. That happened. Yes, no doubt. But like, can't make mistakes because of him changing his mouse. So I feel like the atmosphere is hard there, even though I watched their vlogs and I like the approach. But for me, like, they have everything, money, like good coach and stuff, this management, but something is wrong. I don't know. So I think it's 20% they make playoffs on this. But I hope they're gonna get better because I'm a huge fan of Zonic.
I mean, for me, I'd put them a little bit higher just because I think Dacha has a reasonable chance just because of the teams that are there. Like, let's say, like, Falcons are the 5th highest team there. And if you look above them, there's just like Heroic, who have also been kind of on the downwards tendency. I still don't think they will, just because of how bad they looked during EPL. It looked pretty rough. And I was watching them through it, and I was like, we were going into it thinking like they were talking about needing like a star rifle to build around, right? And then Dupree ends the tournament as their highest rated player. I'm like, I did not see that part coming, you know. But it just feels like it's, especially from Snappy's point of view, it has to be a lot about confidence. And that's just something that's super hard to gauge because like you just can never know until you kind of talk to the people. But I think it's just spiraled to a degree where Snappy probably doesn't believe in what he's doing. Like he's kind of probably constantly second guessing what he's doing, and then he has to focus on how badly he's playing because like his individual level has been horrible. Like he went from like one of the best fragging in-game leaders in not 1.6 in CS:GO. I don't know how I got to that part. In CS:GO to basically the worst in CS2 at the moment, and that's I refuse to believe that that's just because the game is different, and that's just because because he's suddenly a bad player. I think it's because of the change of the team and how much he's probably has a lot to think about at the same time. And like, unless you start winning, it's hard to get out of that rut, you know. But then you kind of have to get out of the rut to start winning. So it feels like kind of a repeat on constant, you know. So I think in Dacha it's pretty reasonable, like whatever 45, I would say percent, maybe 40%, but it's less than that in Dallas, which is why I went like 33%.
Sorry, you were talking about Snappy not delivering like he used to.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I remember on RMR he played really good. Against Amcal, he was the only one who was playing.
Yeah, that's fair. But I mean, he had like that. Maybe it might be like the one game that he played well.
Maybe one, maybe two. I don't know. I'm just saying,
I'm looking at the stats there, and it's like literally the only game that he went in the green, you know, for example. And it's like
maybe it was Ancient. I just remember he was crushing them, but they couldn't do anything. Like, I mean, it's always like now IGL should frag. It's a big topic. It's all the time we say that they should frag, obviously, and they should frag. But I think it's not about Snappy or BOROS before. Like, I mean, like something just doesn't work in the team. But I hope they're gonna get better. But doesn't look. But they had Dupree, very good player, very good player.
I really don't understand. I spoke to several people and nobody really gave me an answer about why Dupree. Like, people behind the scenes, like I asked some players, some coaches, some people from like management, GMs, whatever. Nobody could really come up with an answer like why Dupree of all people. Like, role wise, this doesn't necessarily doesn't fit in terms of age, because like, okay, even if you perform now, there's a timer on this lineup. Like, they're 28 on average, or even more than that, 28.4. Like, obviously this lineup is not going to survive long term just because of how old it is. Like, it's just statistically that doesn't happen that way. You know, maybe you're going to be the one in 1,000 that's going to make it work, but usually that's not how it goes. You know, so I just don't understand that move and how that was supposed to fix this team. You know, like even from before they got into Dupree, the way that they were talking about like who they need, obviously not Dupree. They're not going to build around Dupree as like their biggest star. That's never going to happen. Then Snappy says maybe they're going to do it by committee or whatever the word he was using. And like, of course that can work, but just for some time, right? Like it's going to be only a matter of time before some of these players start to fall off. And we maybe even see it with some of these players that just not fitting in CS2 as much as they were before. So I just don't get the future of this team, even if it starts working now suddenly. Like, I don't know where it goes.
I have a question. Do you remember when Dupree was removed from Vitality? Who call was that? Was a call from the organization, not from Zonic, right?
I mean, Zonic took the blame for himself. I think it was kind of both. I think it was a combination there. I mean, from what both of them said, and from what I heard behind the scenes was kind of that's Vitality were like pushing for it, but then also Zonic like understood why.
I have a pretty delusional take, but if you might, I will say it.
Okay,
I think
we love delusional takes here.
Okay, so the thing is, they managed the team and they lost qualifiers for major, and they thought that like it's the lack of experience and maturity from the BOROS. So we need someone who can fit the roles and like you know, close the gaps and stuff. And they didn't see obvious candidate to bring it right now, even though they have a lot of money. They didn't know who to pick, and to be honest, like the season is going on, not so many players from the tier 1 would rather move to Falcons. If they didn't move before when they had this opportunity, why they should do it now? Of course, money changes a lot, but playing in a top team, getting good salary, and
I
like
mean, just
being
essentially what you're saying, they can't get Nico now, but maybe they can get Nico in January. Maybe, but I don't know. Like the thing is, they said like, let's finish this season with Dupree. He will do what he's supposed to do, and after that, bring the wallet.
Yeah, I mean, if you have unlimited money, as we kind of suspect that Falcons do, that is obviously like a way to do it. You know, like, okay, this lineup doesn't have a future 1 year down the line, but who's to say we're going to keep even 4 of these players in 1 year down the line, even 3 of these players, you know? Like, this team is clearly like willing to spend the money if they can get the players that they want. And they have tried at least, and it just didn't work with like people like Nico, Monesi, whatever, so maybe that is the deal. They just threw some money at Dupree for now and said like, okay, maybe in 3 months this is not going to continue, but like for now, let's see if this is a way where we can improve short term at least. So I could see that being the angle. I just don't understand it in the first place. Like, it almost feels like overcompensating for what the problem was with BOROS, which was whatever, immaturity, like not making the right decisions in game, like just being very inexperienced, a little bit too gung-ho, like into situations, all that stuff, that happened. Like, and then you go for the absolute extreme opposite, like the guy who has like all the experience, most major wins, all that stuff, but is obviously also on the older side, so it feels like an overcompensation.
I mean, I don't think it's that delusional of a take. I thought you were going to say something like Zonic kicked him, so he wants to bring him back to make up for it. That would be kind of like a delusional take, I would say. But what you said, I think, makes a lot of sense, actually. Like that does feel how it went down. They are kind of buying time until there's a better opportunity. And I do think they even not mentioned, but the signing is like until the end of the year, something like that, right, Striker?
I actually was going
it's
to
not
go
like
back
a long
and check
term,
if they said anything about it.
Not
I
a
feel
long-term contract. But just for a second, I would just want to bring it back to what are the odds. Lucas, can you bring up the odds thing? I think it was 3.85. Yeah, I remember it. So we gave it 26%, which converts to 3.85 odds. After the show, we'll have a poll on Twitter. People can say yes or no, and then based on that, we'll write it down and add like 50 euros times whatever the odds are for the correct answer, right? If the fans get the correct answer. And so we expect like at the end of the season to have like a few thousand maybe euros giveaway with skins and stuff powered by 1xBet.
I actually went back to the statement because I just needed to check how exactly it was worded, and it says our journey with him begins now with plans until 2025 and an open approach to adapt if needed, with the flexibility of mutual termination if the expectations are unmet. So yeah, I mean, basically, like in a way, what we were talking about here, kind of like just see how it goes for now, and if it doesn't work, we'll go another way.
By the way, talking about transparency, what do you think about Falcons vlogs and this case with BOROS? We were talking about Cloud9 not bringing anything to the community, and now we have this. What do you think?
I think, I mean, Snappy said it well, but then again, like Falcons probably should have understood it that, whenever you bring something like that, you're never going to be able to put in the full context. And the problem was that part of it, like so much was focused on that part of it that like that's of course fans, that's all fans are going to think about, like why is everybody harping on this one small problem about this guy, like 5 people just gang up on one guy because they spent whatever it was 5 minutes of the vlog, 10 minutes of the vlog basically talking about this month's mouse issue, in the original version or whatever. So like, it seemed like a little bit of an oversight of like what the reaction was going to be to that. And I didn't mind it, like a little bit more of a look, and I think people did overreact a little bit, and like as if this doesn't happen in every team, some sort of like blame games or whatever, somebody fucks up and then like people let him know. This was obviously an extreme version of it, and like for you to show all of it, like I would understand, like okay, if they leave the Zonic part in, like okay, I'm gonna point my finger at you, you fucked up, you changed the mouse, you shouldn't have done that, you played it in Katowice. It ends there. Nobody says anything. Nobody says anything about that because it ends there. You leave that issue with that. You don't have to show all the 4 other players telling him the exact same thing Zonic just told him, and it's like he just obviously feels shitty about it. It's just, and of course, like that's just feels like a poor editing on their part.
I think also what the context that Snappy added in the recent interview that we had with him was like, it wasn't just that we changed the mouse and played bad, but that during the whole game, he was constantly complaining how the mouse is shit, I can't kill anything, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like doing these things on TeamSpeak during the game, which then, of course, is going to annoy you, even though, like, as you say, Hooch, like, you're playing with a new player, he's going to do stupid shit. That's just how it goes, right? But it makes it definitely worse if he's making these decisions and then also like complaining and bringing this negative energy and just like annoyance, right, to everyone in the team. Like, it just distracts from what is important in the game, right?
I feel the frustration of the players because like they were expected to come to win the tournaments, and like you hear Magic saying like really important things, but when you come to reality, it's much harder. Like, and that this thing, like, and I'm pretty sure they will bounce back. Talking about Magic or Zonic, I mean, it's always hard for the guys who were on top to throw down, and like you come to the team and you expect the things to be the same or even a better way. And when you realize that it's going the wrong way, it's really hard to stay strong mentally. And I felt like they're like the confidence they had before. Obviously, the team that played in Ants and the guys who played in Vitality, they were super confident. And at some point, some of the players just lost that confidence. And in this moment, you always find the easiest way to find the excuse, you know. And I don't think it was a purpose to show that like it's the only victim, but it felt like for the community that we lost because BOROS did those things. So I think it's a good way to show the transparency of the team, but in this specific way, it was like the only one who was to blame.
Yeah, there's actually a decent question from Sky, full of people in the chat. It says but why did Monty/SDY know how to handle BOROS successfully? And if you ask me, I think it's just different expectations from a team like Monty and the players that are in Monty. That you, first of all, you can't have Nico, which Falcons, all of the players that were there, maybe not all of them, but most of them were maybe expecting Nico to be in this team. And then you mentally go from like here to here, at least in terms of like experience and professionalism, right? And when you're on Monty, you're like, this guy is awful to play with. Like, he's doing so many stupid things, but he's also very skilled. And he is so skilled, he's going to win us some games, but he's also going to lose us some games. And this is the best that we can have. So I think it's very much easier to come to terms and kind of balance that out versus when you're on a team like Falcons, which has like winners, or I think Snappy, I would say, yeah, he won some tournaments, but he's also in a point of his career where he doesn't want to lose time. He doesn't want to fuck around. He wants to go and win. So I think all of them would just have such a harder time to deal with something like this, right? Obviously, there's going to be younger talents that need to learn, but there's younger talents a la Monacy and Donk who are still going to make mistakes, right? But they're going to learn faster. So you can just accommodate it rather than be frustrated, right?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it for sure. And it's also like also because of the whole performance setup about Falcons, like everything is about building some consistency, right? Everything's like about building a performance model and just like sticking to it over a long period of time so that it finally pays off at the end. And then halfway through it, like not even halfway through it, like through it, you see this guy who's like completely inconsistent about anything that he does in the game. Well, in the game, not so much with Falcons, actually. Like he was not necessarily in the same positions as he was in Monty, but just from the immature side of it and all that stuff, like suddenly there's one guy that sticks out, right? Everybody else has this kind of vision of like, okay, we have to follow this model and we have to be consistent about it, and then it will pay off. And then this guy just changes minds between tournaments before a match or whatever. And that obviously creates a massive hitch in his consistency. And like if he's not dealing with it as a professional, then on top of that, then that's a problem. And it's not like, he wouldn't be the first one to change mice before matches, like between matches or whatever like that. But
some players change
like
mouses in matches, like,
yeah, during matches,
like Flamey did before.
Yeah. So it's not like that specifically is like the only issue, but like if it compounds into a lot of different things that just and he's obviously a lot younger than the rest of the team, so culturally as well, completely different. So from all these perspectives, he just doesn't fit. Everything about him just sticks out. And so, like, of course, he's going to be the channel, like that just like everybody takes it out on.
Talking about Monte, like I was watching their games when they were in Paris and stuff, and talking to the players and coach. I felt like BOROS was free to do whatever he wants. Like, they had a structure, obviously, but in this structure, he could do whatever he wants. So I just remember some matches we lost EPL qualifier against Monte when he was scoring 30 frags and stuff. So I see it like that. He's a very good individual player. Like if you talk about pack style, when you do things on your own, and at some point it works, at some level it works. But when you go to the higher level, people get used to it, and just don't play so good as you used, because people expect you to do these things. Also, when you become a like notable player, when you were struggling, like not struggling, you were playing in point like some RMR, no one ever heard like how good you are, and then everyone's saying BOROS, 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 BOROS. So at that point he thinks like, I'm the top of the world, I'm the best player, like I can do whatever I want. And then he got the invite for Falcons, and at this point you have a huge salary. Everyone talks about you, how good you are. And when you are young and you have a lot of, like things like, how to say, in Russia we say we have a common word. It's called, you have to pass like water, fire, and I don't know how to say it in English. It's called medne truba. So it's basically means that you need to stay the same person as you used to be when you have the fame, money, and stuff. Yeah. So it's very hard because you have a lot of friends, a lot of beaches and stuff like that come into your life, and which distract you from things you are good at. And when you come to a team with a structure, when the 5-time winning major guy who understands how it works, when everyone need to know what to do in the certain situation, and then the guy who was told before like you should go yard and kill, and now he says you should go yard and kill, but if you see this you need to do this, and then at some point he was like what I'm supposed to do, and maybe he wasn't ready for this structure. Because it's like in football, you can buy a guy who was really good, for example, in like some mediocre team, like, and then he comes to Barcelona and Real, but he can't do the same things he did before. Some of the big talents will come and do the same, and then they become the greatest ones. But the problem is when you are good at some team in the lower level and you come to a better team, you need to adjust and become a better person, a better player. And that's what happened with him, that he couldn't just like handle it. And also he said some controversial thing which I didn't like, when he called out NBK on some broadcast or some interview, and he said he didn't have a proper agile. You shouldn't say things like that. You should respect the guy you played with and should be respectful to your teammates. And it's up to you to believe in karma or not. It's like, we can talk about it all day and night, but I think like you should prove yourself with your game, not the words, and that's it.
Yeah, so I just googled the saying or the whatever idiom that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So it says you have to go through fire, water, and brass trumpets. So like fire and water are like challenges, like different challenges, and the trumpets are like the praise, that you get from other people, and saying like the praise is the hardest thing because that gets to your head, right? And the other things are just kind of physical, kind of cool. We had Blade with some like smart words last time. Now we have some new learning new things every time. I think this is end of the Falcons stuff. Like we could talk about them for forever, but there's a few other teams that we should talk about. So I'll just note a few, and you guys can tell me what you're most excited to talk about. So we could talk about Astralis and building a bit of momentum. We have m0NESY and G2, and I would maybe like to talk about m0NESY and donk and some of the things that people have been saying about that. We have first look at Virtus.pro. And we also maybe could talk about a bit about YEKINDAR and Liquid, because obviously hooch, you kind of, I don't want to say discovered him, but you played with him like in his developmental years and stuff like that. So what are you guys feeling the most from these?
I am in a good company. I can talk whatever you want. Bring up the topic.
Striker. Okay.
I don't think we need to spend so much on Astralis. I think it was kind of like a lot of the same good things that we were already talking about, like during Chengdu and where they were showing that. I think this was just more of the same. I mean, Stown just looking great back in his old roles. And actually, I mean, even from a leading perspective, it seems like everything's working well. Like they're making the right calls at the right times. It doesn't seem like there's any issues. I don't know how much of it is like by committee, how much like Device was doing a lot of praise of Stown and how much input he has, how much he understands macro. So it seems like just that combination is working really well. I don't know. I have nothing bad to say about Astralis at all. They just breezed through this group, even playing FACEIT another time. So yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, I'll just hop on Astralis on HLTV and look at their last matches. So since they essentially put this team together, they beat Steel Helmet, obviously not a great win, but whatever. They beat FaZe 2-0 in Chengdu, then Virtus.pro 2-0, and then they lost to FaZe 1-2 in the playoffs, and now at EPL they beat Eternal Fire 2-0, beat FaZe 2-0, and then 3D Max 2-0. So pretty strong run of form. Most, like all of these games that they won were not on stage or anything, but it's looking pretty good. It's looking as good as it can look. Like obviously they could have gone one Chengdu, but I don't think that's like super realistic. But for a new team, this is even if it is honeymoon phase, I think it's proving to be really good. The roles kind of work out. They managed to find a balance of that with Bro, but I think that was always super crucial because the last lineup lacked these clearly defined roles, and it also shows that too many cooks in the kitchen, how detrimental that can be.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also like how much Stair is still kind of keeping up the same level that we saw like when it wasn't the dysfunctional Astralis. Like he's still performing really well in the same roles, and that's something that I like a lot, because I wasn't sure if I would expect that, once this Astralis starts working, I would expect him to just kind of like slot back into like the anchor role and just do whatever, like kind of unimpressive. You just don't notice these guys a lot unless they are really good, and he seems to be really good in those. Obviously, you're going to look a little bit better when the rest of the team around you is also good, but he looked better when the rest of the team wasn't, and now he keeps doing that. So I think that's also deserves a little bit of a nod.
Yeah. Hooch, let's just jump onto Virtus Pro. What have you seen from the new Virtus Pro with Electronic?
I haven't seen much, to be honest. I only watched one match. Everyone is really hyped about them and expecting them to be one of the best teams in the world. I personally think it's going to be a hard task for them because there is no doubt that the Electronic is a super player, great experience, great skills and stuff. But the thing is, his vision of the game much from the they had before. So now probably they're going to switch approach, because many guys mentioned that like this style doesn't work in CS2 like it worked in CSGO. I think it's not about like talking about style. I mean, they felt like they're running out of ideas, and at some point some teams started just playing better than them, and like I think that lost against G2 on major was very hard for them, so they thought it's just we need to bring the Electronic. But I think they can become one of the best teams in the world, but it's going to be a really hard task. First of all, for Electronic, because like at some point you losing confidence when you're super good at Navi, then you come to Cloud9. He was playing good, but they didn't succeed so much, and now he moved to Virtus Pro. We don't know the reasons behind it, but on the paper it sounds really good. But I think it's going to be really hard for them. I hope they're going to fix it, but I think it's going to be not so easy from the beginning. So far, they played pretty confident against some teams like SO, but I don't think it's the measure the really capacity of.
Yeah. I was going to say the exact same thing. Like from the FaZe game, I did watch that one, and they looked completely out of sorts. Like they just didn't really have any answers at all. And obviously, some teams will just look that way against FaZe, but it just looked, even from the first game that VB played against Fnatic, like that took me off guard. I didn't expect them to lose that one. But I understood it why, because I saw them go for like these super fast plays, like towards the beginning of Ancients, for example, that just didn't make any sense. They were just like power rushing through a smoke, without any sort of setup. And it seemed like they were just changing things for the sake of changing things, like changing up the pace and trying to take the other team off guard without actually having any basis for it. And it just seemed like everything seemed a little bit brute force. That I'm sure that's partly to do with just they didn't have enough time to play with Electronic and just actually build some sort of a foundation with what his ideas of the game are and what the rest of the teams are. But just some of these moves that they were making, I really didn't like. It just seemed like they were kind of pugging parts of the maps that they played.
It will take a lot of time. It will take a lot of time, because you can't start like play like, if you talk about football, if you play defensive football all the time, you can't start like just playing offensive just because you want to, because you just bought one guy who is good at scoring goals. So same goes for CS. Like obviously we shouldn't think about this tournament because it doesn't show anything. I mean, like it will take a lot of time, because maybe they're tired of playing this passive Counter-Strike and like playing on the team's mistake. They want to take the leading role now, but it's not easy to change your perspective to the game.
Identity completely.
Identity,
actually.
yeah, it's a good word. Thank you very much. You can't change your identity so fast, and it will take time. And it can happen, but it will take time. It's the most important thing, like how they will treat themselves and their teammates during this hard period. Because, as I said, it's a big challenge for Electronic now. Like, because he need to understand, like he need to bring something to the team and to listen from them. And if someone will take the lead, it won't work good. So they need to find the balance. And if they will find this balance, they will be really good.
Yeah, I mean, Virtus.pro's run, just to also recap that, started with a loss to Fnatic, which sent them into a lower bracket. Then they beat Saw. Then they lost to FaZe. And then they beat Fnatic, like a rematch. And then they beat Saw again. So they made playoffs and they beat Saw twice and Fnatic. It's not that crazily impressive.
They got kind of banged out by FaZe as well. So it's like the time that they did play against a decent team, it looked pretty rough.
But I think what you're saying, Hooch, makes a lot of sense. So you're giving them like, when do you think they are going to be competitive for titles? Because I think this lineup should compete for titles. That's the bar, where the bar is now, right? But when do you think that is realistic? If it comes together, obviously.
I think Shanghai probably. Like talking about these matches, Saw is a good team. Like not the best, not like tier 1, obviously,
solid team,
yeah. Because I just checked another groups on PL, and they have a quite good group. If we talk like Fnatic and Saw, not the best, but not the worst. Talking about winning titles, yes, obviously this move was supposed to get them to the titles. I think they need at least 2-3 months, at least. Yeah. And we should, like, fans should understand that it's really hard because they're changing their style. But if it's gonna click and they will fit in this style, it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be hard for them to catch up now, though. Like they have a lot of officials to start, so they're not gonna have a lot of time to practice. Like because they play, they're playing in the playoffs of Pro League, so they're playing all the way through to the end. Then there's Dutch. Then they have the CCT Global Finals to play. I mean, that's online, but still, like that's a week that you kind of have to play a lot of officials instead of practice. Straight into Dallas, straight into spring final. You know, maybe with like a couple of weeks in between all of this. You know, so like it feels like it will be, unless they somehow jump on a train and they start winning, and you know they just carry the momentum towards the end of the season. It feels like it will be only after the player break that we will start seeing some like actual change in this team.
Yeah, I do think like I expect their approach to be like kind of experimental for this part, and then probably like a bit of a break, and then hardcore, like figuring out what the identity is and how they want to play. I when you talk about these like super fast-paced round to start the tournament, like to play against FaZe, I do feel like they might be. I don't want to say snowballing, but like they want to also throw in completely different stuff, and they don't really, or they shouldn't care about EPL. Like obviously everyone wants to win every tournament, but they've been together for like a week or something before coming here. There's really no expectations, so they can just do whatever and kind of confuse people as well, because a part of what makes a team good is to be unpredictable, and that's something that VP has lacked quite a bit. Like you know what's coming, but the question is, are you going to be able to stop it? Are you going to have all the protocols and utility in place to do it? And sometimes you still lose because they also have fucking sick aimers individually, right? But yeah, it's going to be a process. So far okay. I guess this is making playoffs even against not so good teams is like something that the Cloud9 with Electronic and Perfecto needed, realistically. Some like decent results that would give them more confidence in time to figure shit out. But yeah, let's
I want to finish. I think I think they should take it slow and enjoy the process, and then the benefit from the ending. Yeah. Because if they're gonna rush with that, it's gonna be a huge problem. And I agree with you that shouldn't take EPL and and Bad Boom Dacha. Also, like they should expect them to win from the scratch. Yeah. And if they will understand it and find their identity, we're gonna see really good team. Like,
I
contender
am
for
curious,
the-
how they will deal with this though, because like now they have a week, so that's another week like on top of what they have already, so maybe there's going to be some changes. Like also, like I could see them, jumping on the train during the playoffs because like they will change a lot of stuff because whatever they were doing during the groups is not working, and so like they will come into the playoffs as a slightly different team again. Maybe some more stuff that they will build upon. So maybe they will make another like a decent run, and then like this could snowball into more like good results, but it would take like a good start. Like otherwise they will just be like, okay, this is not working, we have to change this again, and we have to keep changing, and instead of like finally finding something that works and at least running with that until the end of the season. Like that's kind of where they are at the moment.
Let's touch on G2. So their run, they beat Tyloo, and then they lost to Mongols, then they lost to M80, and it was like, Jesus Christ, what's happening?
Fuck, man.
And then they beat Falcons in a 2-1, lost first map, won the second two pretty convincingly, and then they played against M80 to go through. In the first map, Ancient G2 against M80, co-casted by Device. One of the most entertaining games of Counter-Strike I've watched for a long time. At the same time, it's 50% like, can we eliminate both teams? And 50% this is the best. Like realistically, there are some great like rotations, some good utility from like Sin, for example, like he was getting in position at the right times. Then we had like Nico was struggling, like he was really having an unlucky half. And I think Device really pointed that out really well. Like how many times he's like, there's a microsecond, he catches a glimpse, he's like, he's ready for the guy, but the guy is also like, for no reason, waiting for him to peak. I mean, there's a reason. Obviously, he kind of expected it, but still. Then he gets naded. Then he gets like spammed through a smoke, and like 6 like rifle rounds. He doesn't even have an aim duel, right? It's like this is going awful. And then you see in the overtime that 2 rounds, but the first one, the ace, peak Nico, just like insane Counter-Strike, beautiful. The reactions from everyone, Taz doing some stupid shit. It was great. I love that.
I'll watch that because I didn't actually catch it, and I was just like, Jesus, they played triple overtime again. Like this must have been horrible. So I'm glad you gave it a good review because I didn't watch that one.
It was so fun. The second map wasn't that exciting, but yeah, some props to M80 for sure. They're playing pretty solid Counter-Strike. Finally, they have a full team again after having Def stand in for the major and Katowice, right? So kind of promising from them. But the question of G2 is still like, I feel like Hunter is not doing what he needs to do on this lineup. And I will actually bring up a tweet from Pita. I'll throw
From Pita, yeah, I wanted to say about that. Yeah, it's a good take.
So I'll just read the kind of the short part. It says, finish analyzing G2's recent performances. One thing is clear. They made a huge tactical error since bringing in Nexa. Don't misunderstand me. Nexa isn't a poor player, but he doesn't fit G2's playstyle. The TLDR is that essentially he is not as active as G2 would need or what JKS was. And that then shifts Nico and Hunter into more like playmaking positions. And essentially just kind of breaks down the structure of G2, which I think everyone can agree that Hunter was amazing in the mid rounds. Like he was the guy getting these like boring, not uninspiring, but for very forgettable 1 and 2 kills in the mid rounds in like a 4v4 or 3v3 that just helped so much. And Nico was obviously clutching, and then you don't see as much of that, and especially Hunter as much as you've seen before. And considering they even brought in Nexa, kind of explaining like, oh, he's gonna bring up other players, he definitely did not. He individually has been playing okay, but it's not really enabling Nico or Hunter to do any better. So, what did you think, Hooch, about the take?
I think that Pita had a really good take on this one because, and someone I read today about 2 aces of Nico. Someone said on Twitter as well that like it felt like Renaissance Nico when he just clearing the angles and doing what he's supposed to do. Like he was good in his go with specific angles, and now he needs to look for 5 angles. And I think it's a big problem if you're a star player who's good taking duels, check so many positions, and maybe like because of nexa not playing super aggressive on other positions, they need to do more job. Yeah, we all expect much better numbers from Hunter because we are used to it in CSGO. He was significant player for this team and doing a lot of job. I think like controversial talking about bringing up nexa and if a good IGL and stuff, but I feel like this team can be obviously a better team. Like something just doesn't go right in this team, and I think they probably should make a change. But it's easier to judge from the outside because like it's easy to say like G2 must play better, Nico should play better and stuff, and we should blame some of the players in this team. But I think we don't know what's going behind the team, but obviously it's not what we expected from such kind of players. And I think like Nemanja need to step up this season to become better. But in my opinion, they need changes. Like, and no,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about IGL.
People said, oh, this is Hunter. He's the best rated player in G2 for this event, which is true. Doesn't really, for me, change that. Like I've seen him in these positions now where he just doesn't feel as comfortable and as secure as he used to be, because he used to be a player that doesn't give away his life for nothing, like ever. But sometimes now I feel like I probably just a lack of confidence in some situations. Even when he is in these situations where he used to thrive, it's not the same level of performance. But what do you think, Striker?
I just got distracted on the side, so I was like paying attention to like half of what you said. Can you repeat the question?
I mean, essentially, Hunter nexa to Nico relationship in G2, and how is that working?
I feel like I've been saying the same kind of thing for a long time, so I don't know. I don't want to repeat the same thoughts that I've had about G2 forever, because I didn't actually watch a lot of their games. Like I watched one of the like clusterfucks. It was the first M81 that they lost, and I was just confused about everything. I was like, this is not a top, like this doesn't look like a top team, you know, like the way what you were talking about with Brokey, like how he can have such a high ceiling but also such a low floor. I felt the same way about the entire G2 and like how everybody played in that. It wasn't just about like, it's, you see it on Nico, you know, like Hooch was talking about those two aces. Nico can look exactly like he used to. It's just he doesn't do it as often, and he just has a much lower floor than he used to before as well. Like where like the games where it doesn't go well for him, he just doesn't look like the same player that he was before. He just doesn't have the same moments a lot of the time. But then, you know, he goes into another map and then he has his best CS2 map, you know, that we saw against Falcons, you know. So it's like this entire team at the moment feels very consistent. Apart from Wannacy, he also had a shit game in the TheMongolz one. I think was the one that or like in the first M81, I think he was also pretty off. But apart from him, there's not a lot of consistency from game to game, and that's, I don't know if that's because of CS2 and like because of the way that Nico feels about CS2. Probably that kind of like that sort of sentiment is probably kind of across the whole team. Whether as a result of Nico or not, like it could just be the same sentiment from the rest of the team as well. But that's just how I feel about G2 at the moment. Just like they can look like a top team. They could beat FaZe on a good day, but then like we see what they can do also when it goes the exact opposite way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Monacy is the talk of the town, and everyone is hyping him up, and it's easy to have fun or be sad about just like the prospect of G2 without Monacy right now. Like, what would this team be if they had just like an average opper and not like the best opper in CS? But I've actually been slightly like bugged by the way he is described by the community and some pundits and stuff as like simply the best player in Counter-Strike, which I think is him and Donk are obviously like above everyone else, and that's that's super clear. But I can't really get behind the that, you know, Monacy is the best player in Counter-Strike and not mentioning donk in the same sentence. I can't get behind. I think that's a bit unfair to a guy that obviously Monacy had more matches. He played more. But that is not really a thing that you can fault donk for. Like, it's not donk's fault that his team didn't have a good ranking before he joined the team. Like, that doesn't really make any sense. It's not his fault.
They didn't join EPL. They had invite, you know.
Yeah, they had an invite like 5 days before.
Yeah,
the
but they couldn't make it work with visas. So
no visas. Okay. Sorry,
I mean, I don't know if it's a visa problem or not, but if they didn't
it was.
plan
Yeah,
to...
I got it confirmed. Like, it was because of visas. They just couldn't go.
So let's just remember, donk comes to Katowice, his first like big LAN, and he drops a 1.70 rating, MVP, beats FaZe in the grand final. Like, why are we acting as if this is not like insane? Next tournament, he does the RMR really well. He goes to the major, goes to quarterfinals, barely loses to FaZe again. Like, one of the most LAN and arena fucking teams that exists. Like, is that bad? Is that bad from donk? No, it's not. Like, it's again a great performance from donk, and that's like all he got to play because the situation is what it is, right? Okay, if we're just looking at who performed more over how many maps, yeah, you can edge it towards Monacy and say like, oh, he deserves it. But also Monacy doesn't have an MVP, right? Donk,
I think
if you give donk more time, there's no reason why not to expect him to match what Monacy is doing. And again, if people say, in my opinion, Monacy is the best, I don't have any problem with that. I just have a problem with being like, yeah, Monacy is the best player in the world, and not saying anything more. I just feel it's disingenuous.
Yeah. I think the reason for that is, like, I was thinking about that as well, like when you were first bringing that up, like when you were talking about the run of show, and I was looking at it, and I actually have had a similar feeling to myself about donk, and I realized why. Because like, he's a victim of his own success, and that's because he set such a fucking high bar in Katowice that was like impossible to keep up. And then he goes to the RMR. He had those couple of vertigo games, you know, that didn't go his way. People suddenly started thinking, okay, he's a fraud. Like, he's not going to do anything close to like what he did in Katowice. But then ever since then at the major, he was still great. Like, he wasn't the same as in Katowice. Like, again, that was just an impossible bar to keep up. But he was like on Monacy's level during the major, you know, at least, if not better, you know, at the same time, you know. So it's not like, I agree with you 100%. Like, I feel like people maybe are putting too much emphasis on the fact that he didn't match up to Katowice after that, even though he was still probably the best player in the world, or at least on par with Monacy after that, you know, not including Katowice. So I feel like that's where people maybe feel like he's dropped off, but not as much as people think, let's say.
I mean, yeah, where are the stats? So his major stats, 1.35 rating at the major, which is second only to Monacy, who is 1.37. Obviously, donk had 8 maps. Monacy had 14. Yeah, that's nice. But, you know, that's top 2. That still puts him in the conversation for the best player. You can't be not in this conversation. It's just crazy to me. What do you think, Hooch?
I don't understand why we're sleeping on ZywOo.
Well, right now,
he's not one of the best players in the world, no?
I mean, for
because
this
if you talk
year,
about 3, I will say ZywOo as well.
I think he is, for this year, a level below these two.
Yeah, but
I think
because it's the same, because with expectations, as you said, like, because when they don't came to Katowice and set the bar so high, so everyone expects ZywOo to be the same good like he was last year. And at the remark he was delivering on major, obviously not so good. I agree. But I think like why people are so cool with the Monacy being number 1, because not play, like, if we take the players right now, Spirit has a better players than so when G2 wins some matches, everyone like, how is he doing this with this team? Because people underestimate obviously some of the players and the team is. And if we talk about Spirit, it's much a stronger team. But I agree with you that I think like Monacy and donk, and I'm just a fanboy of ZywOo. Monacy and donk are the best players, and they should be in the same sentence. But as you already mentioned, Spirit doesn't play so much tournaments. That's why And today, Ilya brought the topic that donk is struggling because of that. Like some Russian social media, he said that he doesn't feel good playing not so many tournaments, and he wants to show his best because he's in prime now, and we want to see real rivalry. So I hope he's gonna play more tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see him in Dacha. That's the next one. What else do they have actually? They have.
Are you coming to
Dallas,
Dacha?
right? No, not me. I wanted to, but there was I have Dallas in spring final as well, and 3 tournaments in 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. Wasn't the easiest.
Same. I'm also going to see Taylor Swift, so sorry, can't make it. Priorities. Let's just talk about the upcoming groups quickly. I know some people mentioned Mongols, but we can also talk about them after the playoffs, since they are going to be a playoffs, and we can have just a better overview of them.
I
as
love
a team.
Mongols.
Obviously, great result to beat some really, really good teams, go to the playoffs of EPL. If I'm not mistaken, their first, like, I don't even know what the EPL is. Is this a big? It is a big event. So first playoffs of a big event. So that's a great thing for them, and like a great achievement again for like Asian Counter-Strike, which has not had really a lot of reasons to celebrate. But the upcoming groups are C and D, which will be played out over the next week, starting tomorrow. I think overall the groups look not as competitive. I think especially Group C. I'll just go through it quickly. So these are the opening matches. So Mouse against Bad News Kangaroos. Then we have Ents against Gamer Legion. Ents struggled. Gamer Legion just made some changes as well. Furia against Liquid. Furia playing with a stand-in, and then Force with Smuya. So he wasn't able to come on the show today, so he had to get hooch. And Monty, who also have like some new players, right? And this is also just a problem of EPL, of their invites and seeding coming so early that it just ended up with some teams and like groups that don't really seem like they make a lot of sense. And then Group D is Complexity Para, NIP Heroic, Big against Big Boss, Metal Gear Solid, shout out, and FlyQuest against Navi. Yeah, I wanted to talk about Liquid and ask you, Hooch, what do you think is happening?
What's YEKINDAR's problem, basically?
It's a hard topic. I mean, like, I think that the thing that when he went for IGL kind of ruined his confidence. Also, I think like people get used to his style being super aggressive, and now it's not so easy to be like it's used to be his goal. And I think this team, if it's gonna work, like the same we talked about VP, much more harder cocktail, because you have Zeus, who obviously a good coach with a major winning experience. You have Kedian with his view game. You have one Brazilian player, you have one Canadian player, and you have Marex, who played in VP with one style, and then he came to Liquid. He was supposed to be a #1 star now before, and now he need to adapt and become a different player. And I think like their expectations were so high coming to play in an easy region, and when they met M80, who doing so good without like superstar players, so I think it's very hard for them at the moment. I mean, like they have everything to be on top, and even have a really big advantage when you can qualify to World Championships from America. I don't know, to be honest. With Poke last time, maybe like 3 or 4 months, and he was looking confident and stuff, but watching the games, he just doesn't feel good. And I feel like either maybe 1 month or 2 months he will become better as he used to be, or he need to change the team, because I don't feel like he's doing what he's supposed to do. And it's not fault of his or the coach or the player or the IGL, I don't know. But you can get the good players on the paper, but you need to work on your chemistry. And I saw some movies, and he said like they have really good team-wise, like they are talking good to each other. They have managers, they have psychologists and stuff, but it feels like just something doesn't work. So for me, it's hard to judge, but I hope he will bounce back. My boy.
Yeah. I mean, it's been we've heard the same things kind of already from the not necessarily all the way to the start. I think at the start everybody was like, "Oh, this is honeymoon" and blah blah blah, because they had kind of like a good month before they actually had to play anything, with like all this like boot camp without PCs stuff, kind of all this performance side of it, and like these what we saw in some of the videos, and then they very quickly once they got to playing realized that exactly because they have so many people who have such a big voice, that's becoming a problem, right? So whatever, too many cooks in the kitchen. And that's like they're slowly, I feel like, undoing that and just like having KDM be the real leader and then having everybody else take a little bit of a step back. I don't know how possible that is after like you've set up the whole team as like, okay, this is our main like vocal trio and these are going to be the guys who are shaping the team. I suppose it's just going to take some time until everybody gets used to that new reality, that, okay, we're just going to have this guy have much more of a say than he did up until now so that we don't have these clashes all the time about how we want to play. So that's probably the biggest worry in Liquid.
And it's really hard to solve it because, even though like people can say we have different views, but we all want to win. At some point, like you come, someone take the number one voice, someone a second, third. But during the time, if you don't succeed, at some point you think like maybe I should take more part, like in talking. Maybe I should call more and say some things that were significant in my team and important. So it can be a really huge problem because when it's just beginning, everyone is so nice, like let's do this, let's do like this. We had this good case in this team, and we had this. Let's try it. It works at the beginning, like everyone is calling, everyone is listening. But when the time passes by, it's really hard to stay like the same. Like you may think like what he's talking about. Like I know how to do this, and even though you can't say it, it stucks in your mind, and the day by day it gets much harder for you. So when you have 3 different people from different countries, different regions, different communities, really hard to hide your ego. So if they find this way, like where they have this, like they make this good cocktail or salad, I don't know, it will work out. But so far it looks not so good.
What do you have as expectations from them at Pro League, though, considering their group, like playing against Furia first and then
This
they
group
win?
is shit.
That was my exact response.
It is,
and it's like literally
dire.
what I said like 3 months ago, man. When they decided these groups, it's like, okay, at this point it's not as bad, but guess what? You don't decide groups 3 months in advance for a reason.
Yeah,
I don't know. They can beat Furia.
I think
they should be. They should be
Very
Furia.
nice.
They should beat Furia. Come on, like
they should beat
Furia. And then they have Force and
Mouse.
Monte and.
I mean, they should be.
They should qualify. If they don't qualify, I don't know.
Disband.
I don't know.
Like
you can't disband with such salary, bro. You not. Cash rules everything around me.
I mean, obviously not disband, but it would be a huge disappointment if they don't make playoffs here. Obviously, they didn't qualify. After Chengdu, they flew back to the US or somewhere, I don't know.
For EWC qualifiers, right?
For EWC qualifiers, and they lost to M80 in the final match, which sounds horrible. And realistically, it is horrible that they had to fly from China to America to play this and then to Europe again. But also in such a tough it's a tight schedule, and also it seems like M80 are not that bad. So it makes it, in hindsight, less bad, but still rough for a team of Liquid's level to not get that qualifier, to lose like a domestic qualifier. Essentially, that's rough.
Yeah, but it's a part of the game. There is no excuses.
Maybe so. Also, Twist is maybe pretty happy that he doesn't have to play in Saudi Arabia. Who knows? He didn't want to join Falcons because of that. So
after the Falcons,
maybe. I was thinking about that line, and I was like, okay, maybe he didn't try his absolute hardest, but that he was the best player in the team, I think, in that qualifier. So
as he has been since this team came together. But yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. Obviously, people still bring up the leaving FaZe thing to him, even though it was a different time and everything. But even he must sometimes look at where FaZe is, just chilling, playing LANs, playoffs,
going to all the finals, yeah,
and him having to travel around the world all the time and playing online qualifiers and losing to online like American competition. Pretty rough. But hashtag believe Twist. He's been great though, individually at least. That has not faltered. Before we close the show, I don't want to go into like predicting anything more here, but is there any other team from Group C and D that you think is worth paying attention to specifically?
I was just thinking about Navi in general and maybe Heroic. I think there's a lot of pressure on Heroic to start performing again a little bit, just because they started on a really big high. Because everybody just like thought, okay, maybe it's going to take some time. That's a completely new team coming like from 3 different directions, and then they almost make playoffs in Katowice. They made it to the major, right? Yeah, they did make it to the major. They performed really well up to that point, and then since then they've been struggling. So it feels like this is also the time for them to go back up. Otherwise, maybe there's going to be some question marks, and probably a lot of pressure on Nikodos, because he's kind of been like, that's the obvious place to upgrade next. If you want to make this roster better, it has to be in the AWPer position, because he's like barely breaking 1.00 ratings since in the past couple of months. So that's something that I will keep my eye on for sure for that group.
Coach?
Group C, obviously, Mouse Sports is a clear favorite, and I don't know, like I can't say anything about the other teams. Group D, interesting to watch new NAP. They removed Rez to take this Polish guy Kaspersky.
Yeah. I mean, they already have one more stand-in, so it's kind of like
Rez is sick,
walking.
right?
Rez is just sick.
He's sick.
Yeah, they didn't replace him. He's just sick.
Yeah, no, but I'm waiting for a match. Big Boss is gonna be interesting.
Big Boss.
Big Boss.
Yeah, that's good. I'm just curious about Navi. Like, we had this, like, if you guys remember, like for a long time there was this thing like where the team that wins the major doesn't do nearly as well at the next tournament. Obviously, we've been a little bit more removed from that. Like, usually it's because like it's like right the next event. It's like immediately after. But they didn't play in Chengdu. They only play here. That's their first time that they play out after the major. So I wonder if the same will apply to them, if they're also going to take a step down. But I don't see a reason for them to in this group, at least. Maybe in the playoffs, who knows? But that's still like, it also feels like a completely different tournament once you go into the playoffs, because it takes 3 weeks to play, and like especially the first 2 groups, like they have a week off or even more than that. So I don't know. Yeah, it feels like we're so far removed from the major that this is not even a storyline. It's like, okay, how does the team that won the major do? Yeah, this is like a month ago now. Like, we've had a bunch of things be played, in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's it. That's it from the show. I feel like we had some nice discussions about teams. We didn't have like too many crazy like recent news, so we had a bit more time to discuss some of these teams in more depth. So if you guys like that, let us know in the comments. If you want chat back, type 1 in the comments, and I'll see you next week, I guess. Do we have any plans? Probably same time, to be honest. Probably a Monday evening for us. And that was all. Stay tuned to the What Are the Odds 1xBet thing on Twitter, HLTV Confirmed, and our Instagram, so you can vote there and hopefully get some nice prize pool going for the end of the season. Thank you for watching once again. Thank you to our sponsors, Tradeit and 1xBet, and Nart that came on earlier in the show, and you, Hooch. Do you have any final words before you head out?
Yeah, thanks guys for having me. And see you at Boom Dacha. Enjoy Counter-Strike.
There we go. See ya and good night.
Are you tired of your boring old skins? Head to Trade It and trade them for exciting new ones within seconds. With 24/7 support, massive inventory, free giveaways, and low fees. Trade It is the highest rated trading platform in the market. What are you waiting for? Start trading today for a $5 bonus, only on Trade It.
The world is changing quickly. Shut up.
The world is changing, but one thing remains the same. Victories with 1xBet.